Welcome back to another episode of Fact or Freestyle,
where we uncover facts from BMX.
And now we're going to find out what's going on.
Let's see how far down this rabbit hole we go.
Whatever it was set to last, like the final thing it was set to is the thing that will appear on the recording. So when you turn off Zoom, whatever the label was there is how it is on the recording.
Got it. Okay, looks like
there you are. What happened? I thought, wait, what's going on? Dave, I thought.
Oh my God, I am terrified by what is in Brian's background. That looks like Ronnie the limo driver. And I'm a little bit terrified that it's gonna move. Yeah, Ray, look in the background against the wall. I mean, like the real terrifying thing is if he was facing the wall, like the Blair Witch Project.
Honestly, that's been in all of my houses to deter people from breaking in.
Excellent.
Um,
Brian, thank you for making time to sit around and bust balls with us.
No problem. Our headphones aren't working, unfortunately.
I can't get this.
So while Ray's doing his thing, I'd like to do a quick poll and understand. We have this format of freemium life coaching, and we're wondering if that's coming through in the show. Were you aware that this is a life coaching show?
Just say yes.
Not implicitly, but yes, apparently.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna work. Can you hear me okay? Like if I'm just talking like this, it sounds totally normal?
Yes.
Okay, I won't use these things then. Brian, what's up? I haven't seen you for a long time. I met you one time and we have a great story about it.
I think, was that Dave Mira's memorial?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were drunk. You were drunk, by the way.
Yeah.
Is that okay to say?
Yeah. It used to happen a lot more than it does now.
What was it? I missed what was in your background to keep maniacs from coming in. What's in the back?
It's Ronnie the limo driver. It's like a cardboard cutout from the Howard Stern show, and he's like 5 feet tall.
Oh, I know all about the Stern show.
But
I've called it numerous times, especially when Chubby Checker was on.
There's been a few, like not so much in Texas, but in Los Angeles, where I was away and I had people check on the house, and he was in the kitchen, and they were just terrified and ran out right after. And so I drank a lot at Dave's memorial.
Yeah, you did. A lot of people. I was surprised. Wow, a lot of people were hammered, man. Like a lot of people were like really drunk, and oh fuck, not as drunk as me right now. What the fuck? I can't get the
watching Ray's phone fall with a static background is awesome.
Dude, I can't.
You keep falling out of a chair.
I can't get the fucking phone to stay put. I mean, what the fuck, dude? You think what is so slippery about it? The fuck? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get fucking jailhouse on you guys here. I'll be back in a few seconds.
What are you running to get? All right, so Brian, today one of the things we would like to uncover is some secrets of the liberal elite global BMX media, because you fortunately were on the inside and now are ready to tell all.
Mhm.
of the facts, all of the freestyle that happened behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Okay, Ray, are you stabilized?
I think so. I mean, the phone is. I'm not.
All right, so Ray, you tell,
Hey,
well, which one of you wants to tell the story of
I'm gonna see if Brian remembers it because it was really
Okay.
funny. But I don't think he remembers it because people don't remember shit like I do.
I remember a lot of stuff. I don't remember which incident we're talking about.
So you and I, up until then, have never met each other, and I was fascinated by all your then and now photos you were doing from like Freestyle magazine. Like I
Yeah.
love that stuff. So when I saw you, I was like, oh my god, there's Brian. I was like, I got to talk to him, and you kind of came over, sat down, and we were talking. I was like, dude, I love those pictures, and we were just like shooting the shit. And I was sitting with Kevin and Brett, and you and I were like, like totally involved in talking about this stuff. And then Matt Hoffman came walking over, like while I was in like mid sentence, and he goes, "Hey, I just wanted to come over and say hi." And I said, "Hey, Matt, can you hold on? I'm talking to people." And you like started pissing your pants, and like Brett and Kevin were dying. I stole that right out of Don Rickles' shit, and it was just so funny. And Matt stopped and then apologized, and I was like, I guess Matt doesn't know I'm fucking around, and that made it even funnier. So I was wondering if you had any recollection of that.
I no, but I've been watching
So
a lot of Don Rickles' appearances on Johnny Carson on YouTube the past week, so it
yeah, they're
sounds
great.
it sounds right. But
Yeah.
Matt doesn't really get sarcasm unless he's
No.
delivering it.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. That's good.
So Brian, there's one segment that you did on props that I've always remembered, and I had used it for a lot of years. And that was the one where you did the spoken word stuff while you were working on Around the World. But my takeaway from that is to ride until the water's gone. How did that, like, did you actually, was that an actual habit of yours, or did you put that together for the segment?
That was Chris Rye, the owner of props, came and picked me up at like the Madison, Wisconsin airport. And he said, I found this really cool parking lot that's deserted here. Madison's like a tiny, small airport. This parking lot was from 1975 in Wisconsin. So it felt like a cheese grater, no Wisconsin puns involved. And we went to it and I was like, it's really hard to ride, but I can try to do a few things. So like Chris, like we filmed that on actual 16mm film. And I'm still amazed to this day that I actually landed it, because I probably will never do that again in my life. But then not going back to alcohol again, but we went back to his apartment and drank and kind of wrote that thing down and thought it would work well with the actual link. So we overdubbed it and made it happen. And I don't know, it's one of those things where it was like cool when we made it, but now 20 years later, I'm like kind of cringy if like I can't watch that stuff.
So Ray, Ray could re-record the narration track for you because he's getting work. He's getting job offers now after last week.
Gregory Paul Mays called me. You guys know who that is?
No.
He was the stunt double for Elliot in ET. You guys know him as Seppi Mays.
Oh, sweet.
But I'm on a first and middle name basis with Gregory Paul. He's really
Awesome.
Wait a second. That's not his Seppi Mays isn't his real name.
No, his name's Gregory Paul Mays.
My
Joe,
younger-
you're gonna learn a
Seppi
lot hanging out with me. What do you mean? Where did Seppi come from? Who knows? I don't know. Where's any nickname come from? The fact that I didn't give you one yet is unbelievable.
Yours I'm impervious to nicknames.
Don't
They
use these big
stick.
10-cent words because now I got to look up impervious, but I think that
I
means
don't-
you can't get it.
I
Yeah,
I
don't you-
don't
yeah.
get brain freezes. I don't get brain freezes. I've never gotten blue balls, and I've never had a nickname.
You haven't lived then, boy.
I like that on a t-shirt.
Oh,
This is my credentials.
but no, Seppi, I talked to Seppi the other day and he's doing a documentary, or somebody's going to do a documentary about him or the guys that were the stunt double jerkies on ET. And it's not like it's just somebody he knows that's like doing it. It's not like, you know, a big place that's doing it, because they would get somebody real to do it. They wouldn't call me to narrate something like that, because I'm not professional at a lot of things, and narrating isn't one of them. I know that.
Do you want to try to
No,
make
not at all. No,
make a
I
tape?
don't want to. No, I don't.
Are you
do
sure?
anything
Because have you
positive.
seen Brian's section?
Yeah, but I'm not.
Have you
good
seen
at,
that thing?
Maybe, I don't know. What are you talking about? Let's see it. Play it.
Ugh.
All right, let me find it.
It's not great. And again, like I never used to drink hard alcohol, and Chris did, so I was just drinking rum with Chris Rye at night and writing down stupid thoughts. But I mean, like you do a lot of dumb things in your 20s, and thank God I didn't have Instagram then.
This is kind of blowing me away because that was one of my favorite clips.
I'm so sorry.
Well, I guess. Is this? Let me see if this is it.
But while you find it, I've always been fascinated with like CW in general. And like, granted, like Seppi and Diz were like the archetypes for like pro wrestlers in the 80s almost. But
Yeah.
like the bikes and the graphics were so awesome, and like it's kind of been forgotten about, and that stuff kills me.
I have a really, believe it or not, I have a CW story that will break your heart, Brian. Like break your heart. Like it's so bad. When I think about it, it makes me so angry, but I can tell you what it is if you want to hear it.
Sure.
What?
When CW was going from CW to RevCore, they were putting stickers on Gary's bike instead of CW. Like Gary's bike always just said CW Racing. Then they changed it to like California Freestyle, and then it was something Boulevard or California Boulevard, whatever. They were transitioning from CW, which was great, into RevCore that was just like something from Kmart or something. It was just beat.
I had a RevCore because Mark did.
Yeah. So, but anyway, and I have some of this on video. We were at the CW factory. I was with Gary, Carl Argila, a bunch of other, little Eric Evans. Anyway, we were throwing out their inventory basically. And like the CW luggage rack bikes that were out in like 84, 85, by 88, they were really like, they were beyond anything you could even ride. So we were just hanging out at the factory, and the factory was like really small. It's just like a warehouse, like a tiny warehouse. And they were just like, hey, while you guys are like dicking around, running around, can you throw all that shit out? So we were just getting the luggage rack frames, like 30, 40, 50, and just, we were throwing them out. And the other people across the way were like, hey, can you guys keep it down? The noise it was making of the frames smashing into the dumpster was so, but now like somebody will pay $3,000 for that frame. And then the thing that kills me is Seppi's bike was sitting there, that got thrown out. Diz Hicks' bike was in a bike box with all his like his helmet, his leathers, his leather jacket, a bunch of tapes, a bunch of shoes, all this crap. And they're just like, and this is 1988, maybe 89, somewhere around there. And to us, it was just like, oh, that's just his old shit. And like, I got Diz's bike bag bag, the helmet, his jacket, everything, and just in a dumpster. Like, can you imagine having that now? Like, I have Dizix's shit and Seppi's black bike with the drum brakes into a dumpster. Like, we're just throwing stuff out. Like, it makes me almost cry, because it's like, how could you not realize that you were like throwing out Evel Knievel stuff? Like, kind of like what Joe's showing you right now. This shit. Like, I did that show with Joe Gertola's brother, Mike Gertola, hell fucking yeah, and I was explaining all the stuff that I'd thrown out over the years, like basically $1 million worth of stuff that was in my hands at one point, and I was just like, just throw it out. I don't need this stuff. No one's ever gonna want this.
It's funny. I
So-
was listening to like a hardcore friend of mine on that show, and he said, "Oh, my brother used to do all this BMX freestyle stuff in that Long Island accent." And I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?"
Yeah.
To the liner notes, it said Gratola, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, he's a great guy, Mike Gertola.
Yeah,
Joe's little brother. I see the Ronnie Munn thing now. That is freaking me the fuck out in the background.
I kind of think it's like my 3 Men and a Baby. Like,
Yeah, behind the curtain.
Holy shit. I remember the house I was in and the people I was with when I first saw that. They were like, no, come on. You gotta see
Rewind
this.
it.
And I got, oh my God, I got goosebumps freaking me out. Is that real? Or like,
It was
was
it was
that
a little-
stage
it was a-
thing?
It was a little kid that like ran onto the set and was hiding from his like mom or something. It wasn't like a ghost. Ghosts are fake, in case you're wondering. It's not. Well, they're not fake, but they're not real. Like a ghost. Like, have the police ever went and arrested a ghost? Like, we have a warrant for your arrest.
I heard that
on
it was
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't there like, well, all right, well, the legend that I heard in Brunswick, Ohio, which should probably
That tells
set
you right
the
there.
context. That
As soon as
tells
you just
you
said the
right
word
there.
Ohio, you know it's bad.
Yeah. Was that there was someone who like accidentally died or something like that the day before. Okay, so it was just a stupid kid hiding from his
Yeah.
mom. That was the official explanation from the Ministry of Information.
Right. Is that
All
me?
right. Yeah.
But man, what a performance from Steve Gutenberg otherwise, though.
It would have that whole drama derailed his Oscar win. It's too bad. Oh, hey, we have a Rob Lowe quote that Dave sent in.
I hate the
I
Rob
want
Lowe
to
quote.
make sure that we get to that.
Don't leave it on the screen this time for 81 minutes.
Yeah,
long
I
enough.
know. I fucked
You
it up.
fucked up. There's no way you can
I-
fix that, can you? On the thing.
No.
Way to go, Joe.
No. The goal is the only thing you should ever focus on. Remain focused on your life goal, especially when the supervisor is away buying another house. And that was a Rob Lowe quote that Dave sent in. He was supposed to not be here, but he is here. Oh, we're gonna
I
call.
was waiting for the
Call-
quote, Joe. I was waiting for the quote. I'm out now.
Call that
Thanks,
number
guys.
right now, and let's
Okay.
call right now. Let's book a show and tell them we only have $143. And what can we get for $143?
What can we get for $143? All right.
Maybe like a quick Flatland session with a wedge ramp, and then ask them if
Could buy a lot of Cokes for a lot of Pepsis for Martin.
yeah. Martin.
So
Welcome to Perfection on Wheels, BMX Pro Scripting.
Perfection is a little bit
Assemblies, please press 1. For special events, please press 2.
special events.
Yeah. We're opening up a taco truck, tell them, in Ohio.
Hello?
Hey, I saw your number on the highway, and I actually need someone for a special event.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you have where are you guys located?
Well, we're opening a taco truck in Ohio, and it's like in central Ohio, and it's a really great taco truck. And yeah, we'd like to have the perfect BMX perfect trick team? Is that what it's called?
Well, we're called Perfection on Wheels, BMX Pro Trick Team, BMX Times. We got a lot of different names that lead us to our company, but you're on the right track.
Okay, great, great.
Do you guys have a particular date you have in mind or anything like
Tonight. Tell them tonight.
Tonight, I mean, it's kind of short notice, but is that possible?
No, definitely not. Well, listen, we are a traveling bicycle stunt team, so my teams are constantly on the road. Right now, my Texas team, which is your area, they're on the road as we speak. My California team, 2 of them are on the road as we speak.
Oh, well, what if
So,
I,
mean,
what about
We could
next,
drive to
ne-
them. We
next,
could drive
next
to
week then? We could drive to, well, actually, we could drive to you because it's a taco truck. You want to meet, like, can you meet halfway?
well, between what area are we talking about, though?
Hey, Ray, what's halfway between Ohio and Texas?
We're going to be.
Oh,
yeah, we're gonna be-
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Louisiana.
Gunport, Louisiana, we're going to be in.
Gunport, Louisiana.
Gunport, Louisiana.
Just find out
Hey,
how
Brian,
much
were
your shows are.
you were in Brian, you were in Gunport, or were you in Gunport, Louisiana? No?
We go to New Orleans sometimes, but that's about it.
Is there even a Gunport? I just kind of made
How
that
far
up.
is it from New Orleans, Ray?
It's like halfway there.
I'm sorry, I didn't even get your name. I'm talking to you. My name's Joe, and my buddy Ray.
Okay, I'm Eric.
Eric? Are you Eric Evans?
Eric, yeah. No, Eric Soto.
Eric Soto.
Do you know Eric Evans?
Do you know Eric Evans though?
I don't think so.
Really?
Oh.
I don't think so.
He's from Corpus
he's like
Christi.
four.
I'm looking at my schedule here, man. We will be in McKinney, Texas. Yeah, we're gonna be my Texas teams got booked for the next 2 weeks.
All right, don't fuck.
Okay,
with
for the
John.
next-
I feel bad.
Don't
now.
have any of them.
Okay, all right. Well, Ray's. Hey, Eric, have you ever heard of a guy named Raymond J. Schleckwig?
I don't believe I have. No. Is he related to the BMX industry?
Yes.
Show him my run. Can you
He's-
No, I
show
don't
him my
think
run?
I've heard of him.
He's a plywood hood. He's
Gave us your number.
he
Say
gave us your
Large
number.
Ray gave us your number.
He gave it. Large Ray gave us your number. Do you know Large Ray?
You know what? Large Ray might be the owner. It might be the friend of the previous owner, Woody Ibsen. Woody was a guy I bought the company off of.
Oh,
He always gives
He's right.
his buddy
He knows his shit.
our number because it used to be his old company. So it might be through Woody. I am not sure. But this
Large
has
Ray's
happened
not
to me
that
before,
famous, dude. That's
with other
fucked
friends
up.
prefer us. I mean, this company's been
That
around
is
since
Woody.
1991, so we've been around for a long time. We're the oldest.
did Woody tell you about the time
They're
that
old.
Ray put the elephant lock on his bike in Ray? What year was that?
1987.
In 1987.
There's
So he's
many
the-
stories about those guys. I mean, that's what they did to each other, prank each other all day long.
He's been around since 1990. He said he's the
I
first
haven't heard about that
BMX show.
particular story though.
I wonder
Oh,
what we
okay.
were watching them back then.
All right. Well, Eric, look, thank you for playing along. You are on Factor Freestyle, and we saw that Dean Palacio saw one of your teams on probably your California team today. And so we called and we were trying to
give you
book
free
you for an
advertising.
Ohio taco truck to give you free advertising because according to Dave Norrie, there's 443 people watching this every week.
Oh, that's cool. I know Dave Norrie. He's a legend.
Oh, so you know Dave Norrie, but you don't know Large Ray?
That's great.
No, I know Dave like personally. I've never met the other guy. I've heard the name.
Oh, have you heard Brian Tunney's
Never meet
name?
your
Dave
heroes.
Norrie, he's last time I saw him, we were in Vegas, and he was there, and we were talking.
Oh, he goes to
Oh.
Vegas a lot.
Legend.
Yeah.
Dave's a Vegas guy. All right, Eric, thanks so much. We're we decided to say hi.
Okay.
All right,
You
man.
guys got my number. Go hide it anytime.
All right, word.
Yeah.
Thanks. See ya.
He
Yeah.
bought that off Woody. He bought
He
that
bought-
place
yeah.
off Woody.
He bought it off Woody.
And it is confirmed now, something we've been saying for years. Dave Norrie is a legend. We
You
heard it
heard
right
it
from Eric,
from-
dude.
You
Dave,
heard it
don't you
right
feel
from
all
Eric.
warm and fuzzy inside?
Dave left.
That legend left? What a
He
dick.
just pieced out.
Why?
I don't know.
There's a famous Nicolas Cage stories about like he'll just get up and leave conversations. Dave just did the same to us.
Maybe that's how he got. Maybe that's what got him and maintains his fame. Okay, so speaking of fame, Brian, we have been tracking down some of this very strange behavior of the liberal elite global BMX media.
Yeah.
One such instance was R.L. Osborne, like last year, did not know that a double boomerang with your foot on the crossbar was called a Xerox machine. And
I don't think actually I knew that.
I know why.
why?
Because sometimes the magazines would just make up the name if they didn't know the name of it. Like Eaton, when they did the plywood hoods thing, they were at a ramp, and it was just some guy's ramp, some dude. So they called it the Barbados ramp just to do it. And then everyone's like, "Oh, the Barbados ramp."
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done that in the past.
What have you done?
Just like made up names for tricks. Like when Ruben Alcantara started doing like the 180 to wall ride to come in forward, I thought it was the opposite of a fakie. So I called it a really because it was the opposite. And thankfully it didn't stick, but like I would do that kind of stuff all the time, just like 11:30 at night, bored out of my mind, copy editing. Like it would happen.
Hey, Joe. Since
Yes.
Dave left, I got a replacement. I phoned a friend, and I got a replacement in about 8 seconds. So here he is. Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey,
Warren
Warren.
Marchese.
I'm
Warren.
already better than Dave.
See that?
I haven't touched on a trick all day.
Oh, Warren was prepped, man.
Yeah.
He knows.
That was all the talk the last time we saw Dave.
Yeah, I know.
So I wanted to tell Brian how much I appreciate the amount of time and effort that goes into finding the old spots
Oh, cool.
and setting up the camera at the same angle and telling the story and getting the backstory.
Thanks.
I get to look at it for like 30 seconds and I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. But it takes you like months on end to do it.
Well, actually, I formerly lived in Redondo Beach,
Mhm.
and when I first moved there, I was riding around and I was like, I know this place from somewhere, and it was just all freestyle and photos. So a lot of them I stumbled onto organically, and that was the craziest part of it. Is just like those spots are still there, and they're going to go away really soon because everyone finally realized it's $1 million property along the beach there.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just behind like old bars right off of Pacific Coast Highway and stuff.
Right. I like how you named them spots, with the spot being right there in Redondo.
Yeah.
But I went with like Pete Kearney once to do the wall ride. I forget it was on the back of, but it was a pretty good sized wall down there.
Was the beach one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
That was a good one. And then I'd been to like RL's house. Was on RL's house in Hermosa on the hill. Was that where they shot the hammerhead?
Yeah, right out
The one
of
with the guy jumping on
Yeah.
the big,
Winkle.
whatever that was.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten older, and I kind of had to take a pause on drinking a few years ago. I'll still have one a week or so, but
Uh-huh.
10 years or so ago, I used to, like, we would drink at a bar really close to that house.
Huh.
And
That's
we would
cool.
come out at like 2 a.m, and we would go knock on it and be like, hey, do you know who used to live here? And the poor dude like would like call me a motherfucker and tell me stop coming around and waking up the kids and stuff.
I could imagine.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I don't think anybody would really dig that.
I think once I like had a 12 pack of beer and I left it on the porch when he came out and I ran away, and so like this poor dude was getting woken up.
Did you
all
think
the
you were
time.
giving it to RL, or did you think you were giving it to the guy who now lived in the house?
I was gonna bring it home, but then I got scared because he started yelling.
Our buddy Wally's claim to fame is we were there once, and there was a knock on the door, and it was a UPS, and Wally signed RL Osborne's name for the UPS, and like that was it. I don't even know why we were there. And I don't even think RL knew why we were there, but
No.
that was a good one. Riding the old Holy Warehouse, that was a good time.
Who was it
fine.
that told us he lived with RL?
Mike Daly
Do
did.
you remember?
Yeah,
Really?
to be
Mike
a
Daly
fly,
lived with them.
to be a fly on the wall in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Daly years ago, when he lived there, I called him and I was talking to him and he goes, "Hey Ray, tell me if this sounds really funny, but I went to the movies last night with R.L. Osborne." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's awesome." He's like, "Yeah, we were just like sitting around and it was like a Tuesday night." And he goes, "Hey, you want to go to the movies? There's some movie out." And he's like, "Yeah, let's go." And they went and saw like Boys in the Hood or something or whatever was out back then.
Mhm. Now, if you saw Boys in the Hood, would you want to like get out of the theater and start being like a gangster? I mean, the same way that after I saw Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, I came out and I'm like, I could probably, and maybe I could do
Yeah.
something. Bernie Somdrowski and I walked home from the King movie theater about a
And
quarter
started
of a mile.
breaking.
And about an eighth mile into our walk, we realized that it was never going to happen for us, breakdance.
So you were trying to start a breakdance crew from the theater to your house. You were
Yep.
for a moment in time, you and Bernie were in a breakdance crew.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, we didn't have names yet or costumes or nothing. Like,
Yeah.
And before we got to our house or houses, the dream was dead. It was over.
Yeah.
Well,
Happens all
that's
the
too
time.
bad. What would your name? What would your break-in name be today?
Cheesy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well, Marvel's my nickname, so maybe just Marvel. But in our second grade gang, which was the Cool Cats, I was a cheesy rider. So
Wow.
how about that? I mean, so many gangs over the years.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting
Just
real.
the way you grew up, you just grew up in the hood. You had to be in a gang.
Mm-hmm.
The streets of King of Prussia are pretty gnarly. Even back in the 70s, they were pretty rough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes there'd be an occasional house that didn't have cable TV, and sometimes the ice cream truck would miss a street.
Yeah.
So we had it rough. We were
Yeah.
like, we knew what the struggle was.
Surely did.
You had to keep it together.
But it wasn't Ray's house. Ray was like the rich house.
No, that's not true. Warren had air conditioning and we didn't.
Oh,
Warren had air conditioning. I'm like, wait a minute, you guys don't sleep with an ice pack and a fan? He's
Wait,
like, man, we have a blanket on. It's so cold.
No, I think I know just about every one of your stories, and one of them has to do with the whole neighborhood coming over to your house to see the microwave.
The micro. Oh yeah, Joe. We were the first. My mom got a microwave in 1979. My mom got a microwave. What do you think of that? Was that maybe telling us something?
well, that's the butterfly effect.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a question for you, Pennsylvania guys. I used to go to those PAFA contests all the time, like the Chuck's Bike Shop ones.
Charlie's
Charlie's Bike Shop.
Charlie,
That's out of
it's the same thing.
That's from Pee Wee's Big Adventure, actually. Do you guys ever know what happened?
Sorry about
Well, who let the cats out?
I know everything about Charlie's Bike Shop. What do you want to know?
There was a guy named Mike Schmid.
Mike Schmid, he went to St. Joe's, and the last time you saw him, he probably had a red Trans Am, and on the side of it, it said "smooth as glass." Do you remember that?
And his bike.
Please tell me you do.
And his bike and his shoes match the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
Whatever.
Like I
happened-
said, I know everything.
like that guy
Um,
was. He was like he was doing like no-footed whiplashes before anybody.
Whoa, hold on a second. What year?
Like 88.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened
Holy
to that
shit.
guy. I know Scott Towns stayed at his house when he went there to do Martin Apparillo and Gary Pollock did a show there, and there's some photos of it on the interweb. And Scott Towns was there to take pictures for American Freestyler, and he stayed at that Mike dude's house. And actually having Scott Towns on someday would be good because he has a whole story about that. But
He's an encyclopedia.
and then Charlie's bike shop that just kind of like went under. Charlie died however long ago. He was a large man, and he was also ripped off some people back in the day at contests. But
Sounds like 80s BMX.
yeah,
Ripped off
yeah.
how?
One of my friends had a contest at our high school, and Charlie, you had to have an AFA official or an AFA affiliate. So this kid had like a contest, and it was $20 to enter. There were however many classes, and like there was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars because it was like $2 to get in, 20 to enter, and whatever. And then when it was all over, he's like, "Hey, are we gonna like count the money and whatever?" He goes, "Well, I had to get all my guys down here, and I had to get the trophies and the PA and all that." So he's like, "Actually, I was gonna see if you wanted to chip in because I'm still owed like $200." He's like, "So wait, so I had a contest and set it all up, and now I owe you $200?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, never mind." And then that was that kid's AFA career of trying to be the next Bob Morales. But
What? Because he brought the trophies and he basically invoiced him for all the expenses and stuff. Is that what you're saying?
He didn't invoice him. He just to have the contest, you needed an AFA affiliate to like be like, "Hey, I'm here." So
Right.
this kid set it all up and was like, "Okay, I got the ramps, I got the this, I got the that," and then he had people working, like his mom and his sister, like taking money at the door and doing the registration. And then Charlie just like showed up, and he had 7 trophies, like old boxing trophies, like sitting on a thing. And then they had the contest, and there was like tons of money from the kids that entered and whatever. And Charlie just took it all and then said the kid owed him $200, and that was it.
He took it all and told
He took all the
kid
money
he owed him.
and told. Yeah, it was like a
and told him
diversion.
that
He's
he
like,
owed
"Not only do I not have any money, you also owe me $200 because he wanted him to pay his gas money and some other kids' travel, the people that helped him get there." It was a mess. But anyway, that was
I'll
Charlie.
tell you this: Charlie didn't help us carry the quarter pipe in from outside by hand through the double doors and bring it into the gym.
We're still carrying it in. It took so long. It took forever.
Yeah, those were just the most, like, those were my first contests as like a 14-year-old kid, and they were just bizarre to like be thrust into. And like, luckily I had Ross Smith and Ivan Adamic with me, and they were so nuts that it like offset the craziness. So I was just kind of like already used to it. But yeah, it was a lot for a 14-year-old kid to go into.
Brian, did you go to the one that was in the little shopping center? The one that was like, it was in the middle of winter. It was in '87. It was in a shopping center. Mark Eaton was there.
I don't think so.
It was in it was an abandoned store, like hadn't been renovated yet. So.
And then what about, there was the cup, and then like a couple years later, there was an AFA thing in a skating rink, like an ice skating rink that Charlie was.
I was definitely
that one.
Bristol.
Yeah, Bristol.
Yeah, I was definitely there. And then there used to be ones at like a weird 4-H facility that had like, it smelled like horses inside there, and it was really rough to ride in. But like, of course, Sean Leslie killed it. And
Sean Leslie.
Hey, Joe, can I share a couple photos?
Yeah, sure. You should have the permission there.
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Let
I-
me take
I'll
care of this.
Tell a real quick Sean Leslie story.
Yeah.
I was a freshman at Rutgers,
Hmm.
and I'm in the dining hall, and Sean Leslie comes up to me and sits down. He's like, "What's up, fucker?" or something like that. And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going to school." He lived in the dorms with me for a week and did a handrail, did all this crazy stuff. And then I went to go knock on his door one day, and
Gone.
everything was gone.
Yeah. Last time you saw him, maybe.
Yeah. And then I heard he invented some light for rollerblades, but who knows?
Oh no. So, do you see a screen?
Yeah.
Full picture?
I see an
That's-
amazing mustache.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
is a
Yeah,
high
Pete
school
Kearney.
contest. Yeah, that's the high school contest where Charlie stole the money, and that's Pete Kearney. Pete,
I remember Pete had a trench coat. He was rocking a trench coat there.
what was he
Oh,
riding
those
there?
chain rings.
Um,
Was that a Haro with flight
Flight.
prior to General? Huh? No, he would have been General at that point.
There were
nah, he wasn't on General then,
Those-
because when we went to Ohio, he told us he got on General, and
Oh,
maybe
okay.
they gave him that. Like, is that an orange performer?
No, that has double top. No, that looks more like a.
But there was a year where
Hard.
General had like really, really shitty bikes, like 86 before the Hustler Pro and the
Yeah.
Hustler Pro.
Maybe that was it. All right, who can name this bike? And you can't go by the stickers. Oh wait, oh no, this isn't his.
That's not Steve Austin's thing. That's Steve Austin, but that's not. That's just a
Steve-
horror sport or horror.
No, that's a dyno.
No,
Oh, the white dyno.
Yeah, the white dyno. I thought this was his GJS. That is
That he
Look
took
at
to the
those
curb and threw
bags.
out.
Yeah, everybody's in mags. There's
Thomas E. That kid's name right there is Thomas E. Rex.
really?
True story. Yeah. His
He went by
nickname was
Butch.
Butch, but his name was Tom Eric Rex or something like that.
Got regular size arms.
That's funny. Now, that high school is getting ready to be demolished in 2 months. So
That's where I had my beatbox battle and beat Billy Bolton in 1985.
and that's the gym where Dennis and Rick.
Yeah.
lived.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's
the gym.
That's
is-
where it happened.
Yeah.
And that's about a year before it happened. Yep. That contest was a year before Dennis and Rick did that show right there for 7
Holy
people in my
shit.
gym class.
All right. Well, they're the only 4 shots I had of that one.
Okay, that's great. You had those.
That
course.
was-
Dave Norrie wouldn't have those photos.
No,
You're doing a great fill-in job, man.
thanks.
Yeah.
Doing my best.
So Warren, what are your views on life coaching? Should we?
I don't know what that is. I normally fast forward through those parts when things like that are talked about. I can get through this podcast. If it's 2.5 hours, I can be done it in
7 minutes?
9 minutes. 9 minutes.
It's like that old show, Name That Tune. I can get through the podcast in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I can get through that podcast in 3 minutes. I
Well,
can
yeah.
get through that podcast in 2 minutes.
Yeah, think of it. Like
so I have to say that the whole life coaching thing kind of was my fault, and I'll tell you why.
I gotta go.
No, Dave asked me to put together a show, and I decided that I would tell a story, and it was from like the South Riders, and it was so gross. It was the one that we had to bleep, and it shocked Dave
Oh.
so much that he was like, you were on that one, Ray.
That was
and-
the first or second one I was ever on, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. Because you were so excited about telling the story, and I'm like, this is the dumbest story I ever heard. And Dave
the
was all
worst.
uncomfortable, and I thought we were never going to see him again.
And he called me back, and he was like, "We can't do that ever again. We have to change everything. We have to."
You thought it would be a good
uplifting. We
idea
have
to just
help
keep
people."
bringing it up. You thought it'd be a good idea just bringing it up then.
Well,
Now, and
yeah.
one of the other reasons why I can get through these podcasts so quickly is that I absolutely heard every single Ray story, and
Not
all
true.
like 30 versions of the Ray story. Like,
But that's not
one
true. I have
story,
told a couple stories recently that you were like, I never heard that story. And then if he doesn't
That's-
hear the story, then I immediately, oh, it's made up, like my Rocky
It
story.
is, yeah. Because if I've known you since we were 9, and you
Doesn't
just
matter.
magically produce this story, then there's no way.
It's
I
not a
haven't heard
lie.
it. How
Well,
many hours a day do we spend on the phone while driving around?
2 at least.
Yeah, 2 at least. 10.
But
I would have heard the
but-
story by then. Come on.
I don't think so. There's probably tons of stories you haven't heard.
The ones you haven't made up yet. All good writers. Have new material that they're working and showcasing, and sure.
That's not how a friend should talk to somebody, man. You should be like,
I'm just trying to be honest, and that's what friendship.
well, you're not. You're
Oh, no.
bullying me by
Bullying.
saying that what I'm saying is false.
I'm pushing you around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Let's talk more, Brian.
What do you guys
Yeah.
do that you can talk to each other for 2 hours a day?
Yeah, I don't get that.
So
Well,
I
work-
travel.
I work.
Yeah.
We both travel for work, so we're driving in the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
I got a
like
20-minute trip somewhere.
here's a standard phone call. Okay, Warren will call. The phone will pick up, or I'll see that Warren's calling.
We know
And
how
I'll
phones work.
pick up, and I have 14 minutes before I'm at my destination. He's like, I have 23. Okay, and then we start talking, and then sometimes he'll call me, and I'll say, hey, I'm pulling in 3 minutes. How about you? He goes, I got a 45-minute trip. I go, I'll call you right back if I come back out. Okay, that's how every conversation starts usually.
Yeah.
So then we'll just start talking.
It's
You know, and we
surprisingly
talk
there's
about
not
nothing.
that much dead air. Like it just.
No, we're like two old ladies talking about a spot on a table. We can just talk about it and figure it out and
Oh yeah.
talk more about it, you know?
Yeah. And
All right, so I want to get under some of these liberal elite global BMX media stories. Like, I really want to hear
Why
the
interrupt?
expose.
I don't know what that means.
Brian
Take
is
the lead
part
on
of
it,
the
Brian.
Brian is part of the liberal elite global BMX media.
I mean,
He's
I
been on the
kinda-
inside.
I was, but I sort of left. Like,
Well, how did you get inducted, and then why did you leave?
I started writing for Dig in the 90s. I wrote a few things for Ride, but I mean, freestyling was kind of my Bible growing up, and I always thought, oh, I would be happy for the rest of my life, probably working at it, being the Lou without
Mhm.
being as cool. And then so I actually like started writing for Ride a little bit, and then me and Jared Sooney did like a one-off magazine, and then Jared got hired at Ride right away, and then I was contributing to Dig, and I was like, well, I'm not going to keep doing this by myself. So I just started working for Dig full time, and that kind of went for like 11 or so years. And then like the blog thing exploded in 2008 or so, and I started writing stupid shit for ESPN, and it went on for way too long. And somehow like my bosses didn't notice for a very long time. And I wrote a lot of like, you can still find things about like Bully and R.L. Osborne on ESPN.com, which is crazy.
Wow.
But
Now, what did you do with Jared?
it was called 990
Okay.
back when breaks were
That's
still a
cool.
thing.
All right.
But it was also in the 90s, so it kind of felt like,
So I wasn't sure if it was that Sophisticated Rider magazine.
no, that was with John Parker and Kevin Robinson. But
Right.
I did write a few things for that, and honestly, like that was probably a little too far ahead of its time. Like it
Yeah,
was
it was pretty
basically
good.
like a general interest magazine for action sports fans. And
I was their only subscriber.
really,
Yep. I got a magazine subscription to that. And
Yeah.
then one time when I was up at Woodward, Parker was like, yeah, we're not gonna do it any. We're like, we'll just give you your money back. I'm like, I don't, what else? I don't, whatever. And I think I got a personal check from John, like in the mail, instead of like the next quarter's magazine.
Yeah.
He sent me a personal check for a refund.
Yeah. I
It,
mean,
it was cool. It was good layout.
yeah. I mean, Jared did all the layout and photography and stuff, but I don't think I would ever want a vert rider running a magazine anyway. No, vert guys like
Two vert riders.
Two vert riders.
Wait, why not?
I think, I mean, if they were going to do a vert magazine by vert riders, then I could see it. But yeah, like sometimes-
Because they're not grounded.
yeah, exactly.
Because they're vert, they're in the air, they're not grounded.
Right. I got it.
Whew, that was a tough one.
Yeah, let's get on. I got it just now.
So whose careers did you make or break? And I want to hear the times that you had your thumb on the scale, Brian.
Know that we interviewed Zach Warden in Dig magazine once, and he was living at State College as a ward of Kevin Robinson at the time because he was still underage. And Zach took a young girl to the Barnes and Noble and showed her that he got an interview in this magazine, and Zach lost his virginity because of the interview in Dig magazine.
Wow.
Right there at the newsstand or at the
I think a 2 hours
go back.
I'm not that good of a rider.
That's pretty. Yeah, he finished high school up at State College under the care of
And I hate
Kevin.
saying this, but
Rob. Yeah.
A little
don't-
creepy,
didn't-
but
I don't think we made his career, but
That was memorable.
That's
Yeah.
quite a move.
but I honestly think like Ruben Alcantara was one where like it didn't feel like people were really paying attention to him too much when he was doing all this ridiculous shit, and like I was around a lot of it, and I just like it all blew me away, and like tail whips to manuals and stuff like that, and but I would never say like we made Ruben who he is. But yeah, it's really hard to say. And then I don't think we broke anybody's career, but definitely had my run-ins over the years with people who wanted to fly out and kill me.
Like Alex Jumelin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who like doesn't also does not get sarcasm at all. And I think I gave like a Menorah Cup speech where I said Flatland sucks, it's hard, no one wants to do it. Thought I was sincere about it. And then he told me never to talk about Flatland again. So I said, okay, we won't talk about Flatland on ESPN. Unbeknownst to him, like we had just published a photo of him from like a Texas toast like a week before because he wasn't paying it. Like he only wanted to hear himself talk. So that blew way out of proportion.
So that's kind of how I first kind of got to internet know Brian Tunney, was because he's on Twitter and he's like, all right, well, we're not going to talk about it. And it went like 3 or 4 years where he just wouldn't do anything. And so I would pitch him over Twitter, like how I got a new underwear sponsor, and I worked hard, but he's like a steel trap, this guy.
I mean, well, like when I started at ESPN, we basically had carte blanche to do whatever we wanted to. And I made this poor kid Lewis go to like every old like
Lewis
AFA.
Orth, are you talking about?
Yeah, like he would go to all the old AFA events and do like little reports on them. And then like that kind of dried up, and like they're just like we basically got sucked into the X Games part of it. So like 2012, 2013, like writing about Flatland just kind of went away because like it wasn't in the X Games.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was a happy coincidence though. Like it probably pissed Alex Jumelin off for the past 10 years until 2 weeks ago.
You guys made up?
No, he got like second in the X Games when they brought it back.
Yeah. Did you
Ray
write
is
about
super stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is-
did you write about it?
it?
about what?
Alex getting
About
second.
Alex getting
I haven't worked there in like 8 or 9 months. I left and I work at a wellness company now.
you could still blog and tag ESPN. I mean,
I
can't you
could,
just
but
can't you keep right?
I basically write all day long for like email mailers and text messages and blogs.
Oh.
Like, yeah, I'm pretty tapped at the end of the day already.
I think
Right.
I blocked your number on Friday. I was getting some wellness text.
So Ray, I've been trying to keep Brian talking so that you can interrupt him, and you have been
I know.
uncharacteristically uninterrupting.
I know I haven't because I'm curious to hear what he's saying. Like, and
Okay.
also he's also
I'm interested
he's
in what
also-
he's saying.
well, I'm interested in what he's saying, but the key, I think we just found something out here too, is I only interrupt when I know what somebody's talking about. Like if you're talking about something that I've been there, like when we were talking about Charlie, I interrupted him a little bit because I know, like I have a lot of thoughts about that. When if he's talking about being there, I'll by accident I'll just start talking about it. So
if I were to talk
I-
about life coaching, you wouldn't interrupt me.
No, I do have to send a shout out to my only fan, David Hernandez, who was kind enough to recognize me. Oh
yeah, let me get that. This is so good.
On YouTube, he's the first person to recognize and figure out my role on the show, and he publicly stated what my job is, and he's the first guy to call it out. So I was very proud of him for giving me props on my job. It's always good to know that somebody's out there and they recognize your hard work. So I was like,
You're the one who said you just need to shut up.
yeah.
I didn't know you had an OnlyFans.
But he did it in a
Yeah,
great
he
way.
doesn't
He
want-
said like he'd rather hear the stories and not hear me interrupt so much, which is exactly what I'm supposed to do. So he knew.
Mhm.
So that's awesome. I think if anything, we should have David Hernandez on, and we can talk about it, and like I can interrupt him a little bit while
I
he's
would
talking
think
about
he would
something.
not get a word in.
Oh no, he would talk. I'm sure he would talk. I mean, I'm sure I'd hear, but because he might be talking about something I don't know anything about, so I would just maybe be dead quiet. But if he was talking about, Flatland Freestyle from 1985 to 88, he probably wouldn't get a word in.
So I keep looking over your shoulder, Ray, at you doing the endo at
Yeah,
Venice Beach.
you took that photo.
If we had real cameras back then, or like an iPhone, that'd be such a
great photo.
Yeah.
The best thing about that is I wrote out of that because I remember it was.
Come on.
I thought.
See, this is where
No, I did write out of it because I thought I was going to go over the bars.
Yeah.
I was the endo king on that because I had those purple like rims, and the brakes were like they'd stick so bad, and that's all I did was endos.
Yeah.
You forget how skilled I was back then at certain things.
There wasn't much to forget.
I rode a lot of flatland back then. Very, very. I was a master at simple flatland tricks.
Well, speaking of that,
did you ever see my run?
I did, and I'm going to bring it up again. But
I
skip through these podcasts, but I do know that wasn't Dave trying to do your run?
He'll never be able to do it because I didn't touch.
We challenged Dave to do his run.
Well, how about Brian?
He
Is
was
he going to do it?
I don't know what the run was, but
No, we're not going to put it up again. Just send him a link.
maybe
offline. Nobody wants to watch that run again.
Brian, watch this run and tell me if you'd be able to do it. Rodney, who's on our show, he said he was trying it, and he said the hardest thing is the rock walk because I didn't use brakes. It was just a full-on rock walk because I'm from the streets, you know what I mean? And I just did a rock walk, no brakes.
That's That's all modern day street riding is.
See,
You pioneer, Raymond. Pioneer.
see that's something we didn't talk about, and maybe Brian would be able
Yeah.
we'll see if he would be the one that could tell me whether I was a pioneer of
Hold on. Wait,
the movement.
Is this
no,
where
what?
you're gonna say, "Oh,
I
I was the
invented
first to
something.
never
Yeah.
ride with a
Yeah.
uniform"? Because you didn't have a uniform that fit. It
Right,
wasn't
but
because you were
that's
trying
how
to be
that's how fashions start. You know what I mean? So Brian, I
here
entered a
comes the game.
contest. The first contest I entered was 87 at the Velodrome. Now back then, everybody had to have a pretty cool looking bike, and you had to have a uniform. Who would enter without a uniform in 1987 at an AFA Masters? Probably nobody. Every kid had a uniform. Well, they didn't make a uniform that fit me. So I just had to go out there, and I wore like a Vision Streetwear shirt and some blue pants. Next contest, I wore something else. And then the next thing you know, Jason Parks is cutting his sleeves off. And then the next thing you know, maybe Wilkerson's wearing shorts instead of a pair of leathers. And then I was the first.
You're the one who did it.
What year was that?
1987.
Okay. Well, what year did Crew Jones show up in just a T-shirt and they say, "Where's your sponsor? You need a sponsor."
Nobody watched Rad. Nobody saw Rad.
I'm telling you, you got the idea from Rad. You got the idea from Rad. Your favorite movie.
No.
What?
Who
All right,
invited
hold
Warren on here?
What about the smoke bombs? Who invented the smoke bombs?
I
What
actually
was that
had.
story?
I was gonna say earlier, I had the photo of you with the smoke bombs on my wall when I was a kid because I was like, practical jokes and BMX were like are still my thing. So that was like the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wait,
See
that melted the tough wheel and flattened the.
That was at
tire.
Rockville. That was my second Rockville show. I don't like to brag, but that was my second Rockville show. Joe, when was my first Rockville show, if you remember me talking about?
Yeah, your first Rockville show, you filled in for Kevin, who was out, which, if you know anything about baseball, when you get called up from the minors to play, you're forever a New York Yankee.
Yeah.
And Ray validated this when we were in Chenga.
Brian's writing this down. He's going to use this.
Yeah.
Brian's writing this down. He
this
has
is history.
I have a few good Kevin stories myself.
Well, let's hear them.
Yeah, bring them on.
Let's hear them.
There was that Kudos commercial that Kevin and Sean Leslie were in.
That's right.
Many years ago. I also tried out for it I was 15 probably.
Nice.
And we got a call from some weird agent that wanted young BMX boys, and my dad was like, "Well, I'll be in Lower Manhattan that day. Come on with me, and I'll drop you off."
Wow.
So we're just like kind of riding along, and I had seen Kevin and Mark and a few other, like Huddleston used to come ride with us occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But so I kind of knew Kevin, and like he saw me, and he patted my ass, and I was like, thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. He never washed his ass after that.
And then my other one, again, this was at Dave's memorial. I was hanging out with Kevin and Brett the night before, and Kevin finally got to start to talking, and he said, "So I've been watching a bunch of your videos. Why don't you do more whiplashes?" I cannot do multiple whiplashes. Like
Yeah.
I just tried, and it's just not in my DNA to do them. But like that whole night, I was fucking crushed that Kevin Jones wants me to do whiplashes, and I can't.
You got to learn them.
Not crushed. You should have been excited that he was watching your videos. I've seen him. There are a lot of Undertakers in your stuff, from what I remember.
Yeah,
I love the Undertakers.
Thanks, but yeah, like I focused on the negative, and
that's a good T-shirt. I focus on the negative.
That is it.
Not to make Dave's memorial about myself, but I just did.
I'll tell you this: Dave's memorial was one of the best parties I ever went to. The only thing that sucked about it is Dave wasn't there. I kept thinking he was going to come around the corner, like, "Hey, what's up, everybody? What's going on?" Because like we had everybody there. It was crazy. It was like awesome.
Yeah, I have a photo of Kevin, Blyther, and Dominguez together, and it's like I always say to myself, Dave Mira made this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anytime we see shots like that or everybody's together, it's like that's probably never going to happen again. But
No.
we keep making it happen.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, not the
Yeah.
funeral part. I mean,
Right.
us all getting together again.
Yeah.
You know, the Woodward reunions are great for that.
Yeah.
Well, those
Hey,
that's my Kevin stories. And then Lewis Orth rides with him occasionally now, and I know that like Kevin rides a seat post so high that Lewis told me Kevin goes through a seat post like once a week.
You got to put a piece of wood in the middle. That was my trick when I was a kid.
How do you put a piece of wood in the middle?
You put you have your seat post, and I kept breaking my seat posts. And my dad had a guy at his shop. My dad was an accountant at a machine shop or a place that made machines or whatever. And one time I took my bike in there to see if they could weld the pegs open, like the fold down pegs, just weld them on because they would always slide down. And the guy's like, oh, well, the guy couldn't weld it because the metal's too soft, but he figured out how to keep your seat post from bending. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, sit on it. And the guy put a piece of wood, like, here's your seat post, and you just put a piece of wood in it. So the wood wasn't a piece of flimsy metal. There was a piece of wood in it.
Okay.
Now that's another story Warren's going to tell me
Here
you
it
made
comes.
up. Or I
Like
made
that.
up. Here it comes.
Could have just
Now
got,
what?
That's
Now what?
completely made up.
could just got a TRP site seat post.
Yeah, with the support.
You know what?
Now,
I'm
wait.
gonna make a list
How
of
is
all the stuff.
how is the wood
You don't
stronger
remember
than the
that.
metal?
It's not, but keep a seat post, because seat posts were hollow. So the guy put a big wooden dowel rod in it through like the whole thing, and then I just put the seat post in, and it was like having a solid seat post.
The only thing I remember you putting inside of a seat post was the guts of your leg.
But yeah, I jumped a medial
What?
strip, and when I landed, my foot came off the pedal, and my butt hit the seat, and the seat post snapped in half, and then I landed on the seat post about 2 inches from my nuts. And a neighbor of mine brought the seat post and bike home, and we're like looking the next day. We're like, why are there all these flies there? And there's a chunk of fat in there, and that was pretty beat. I was bleeding pretty good there too.
I would say you get
That's
a
so bad.
big chunk like that. It probably went in like an inch, right?
It went in probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That hurt. I remember that like hurt a ton. And not when it first happened, but like the next day, like trying to walk and like stand on it, having that big hole in my leg really blowed. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's fucking shitty old bikes.
Yeah.
We go to those like at the Buckeye Bike Show. That was like the first time I had seen that many of those old school bikes, and looking at them now, it's like the flimsy plates and shit like that. It's just like, God damn.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Matt. I remember reading the story of Matt getting amnesia before he went to France from like snapping forks. I was just like, how in the hell could you possibly have a team of dudes doing 10-foot airs and putting that flimsy shit on it?
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. But it did mean that you got to go through 3 or 4 bikes a year. You get a different color, you get different make, you get the new version of it. Now I keep a bike for 15 years.
Yeah, dudes swap it out just like to change their colorways.
Mm-hmm. Not the hoods. Their bikes were always the biggest pieces of junk. Nothing was color coordinated. So many of their parts were like handmade. Like they had locking levers made out of like binder clips. They worked, but they were like you had to pull it back and flip the little thing over, and it would hold it in place. It worked, but it was a mess.
Do you mod your parts, Brian, or are you all
I
like
used
straight up?
to. But now, I mean, honestly, knock on wood, I just change out tires. Yeah, it's
What about
I overthink buying parts to the point where I don't buy the part. Like, there's no way I can do another quarter of an inch on handlebar height. There's no like, and then like I just will trick myself out of it.
So back, in the beginning, I would always say, like, if I get those frame standards, will I be able to do any more tricks or no? It's just
right?
so I wouldn't get them. Now, Brian, if I told you there was a sprocket or a peg that allowed you to do multiple whiplashes, you'd be in, right?
I would question how you a sprocket.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
just had come up with something that helped you.
But if the ad
get
was
over
very
there.
convincing,
I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm
Joe,
Yeah,
can you do a whiplash?
I can do one.
How about Joe? Joe, how many whiplashes can you do?
so I spent all of last year learning multiple whiplashes,
Wow,
like all of last year, and I got up to 5.
that's really
What
good.
if we all go to the door? What if we go to the Dork in York Hill, where Kevin did all those whiplashes? How many can you do? And we'll
I
just go there
don't.
for like
I
3
don't.
days.
Well, if I spent like 2 or 3 weeks there, I'm fairly certain I could get the hang of it. I don't like straight whiplashes though. They're a little bit different.
Do
but-
we know the world record for like? There's the world record for the fake pinky squeaks. Is there a world record for the real whiplash?
I heard that it was 83.
Hmm.
And I
For
heard
real?
this from the librarian of BMX, Brett Down.
Who's that?
Yeah, Brett. Yeah. Now,
It was
on that
83.
hill, I could do 5 whiplashes, single whiplashes in a row, like do one and then do one.
Like reset.
Yeah, had to be totally reset. Might even have to go back to the top of the hill.
Yeah, I am like, I don't know what happened with me early in my years, but like if I couldn't figure out something to how to do it technically, I would figure out a workaround.
Mhm.
I am great at ankle deaths.
You have a workaround for it.
Yeah, but there's a ton of things like that where I can't do this. It's fucking hard. I skipped it and like never went back to it. And I have these conversations with Scott Powell now where I'm like, he says like, you got to learn everything like decades. I'm terrible at decades. I can do one from a fire hydrant, but like Powell's ninja training decade videos still are some of the best things I've ever seen in the world.
Right side, left side, inside, outside, backwards, forwards,
Bars backwards, like
bars backwards. Yeah. Yeah, he has given me that. I don't want to say it's a lecture, but he has given me that. He has spoken that gospel to me.
yeah. I mean, I
Sure.
would consider it a lecture.
I've heard that same story from the youngster Trevor. He said that he went through the
Oh, yeah.
Scott Powell training and had to learn all that stuff.
Yeah,
Trevor
like
Meyer's a youngster.
Yeah.
no. Trevor Watchring.
Okay.
Trevor.
Different Trevor, not the robot.
I mean, Pal can fucking do everything, and like that blows on 18 different bikes. That blows me away. I think Scott's like one of the best flatlanders in the world. Hopefully, he doesn't.
So
watch.
does he.
Nobody's watching this.
Yeah.
They're fast forwarding.
Warren
They're-
has
they're
such
like,
a hate for Factor Freestyle.
They're like, when's Spike
Like-
coming back?
Yeah,
Was
what a
Spike on
letdown.
there?
Yeah, Spike last week.
That
and
wasn't
this week, yeah,
that wasn't
me.
Spike Jones. That's what was so funny about
What a
that. Really wasn't
letdown.
Spike. That was Alan from Moneyball.
I like how you put it together there, Joe. You were the first one to call him out on it. That was good.
No, he did.
I got it. So, well, this is
Oh,
what was
just
going
the
through my
back.
head.
Okay.
So first off, like we have the website set up where people can pay 43 cents. And so I saw an email come through middle of the day from Luke Delaval, and I was like, who is that? I recognize that name. So then once like Ray told me it was the Trigger Man, I was emotionally invested in talking to the Trigger Man.
Okay.
100%. And
Traeger man, like the grills.
no,
Trigger.
the Trigger Man,
A gun.
Luke Delaval was the one who turned on the microwave,
Okay.
and I was just infatuated by that whole thing. It was the funniest shit
No
ever.
relation to Jim Delval.
Yeah.
It's his
His
brother.
That's his little brother.
Oh, speaking of Jim Delaval, so
Pocono Gateway Bicycles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was a rumor that Kevin Martin told me that Kevin Martin believed, and that rumor was that Jim Delaval did the tail whip air undervert before Joe did it. And I mentioned this offhandedly to Ray. And Ray, how did you describe?
Every time
Jim?
we run into Jim Delaval, especially back in the day, he was always like, "Oh, dude, I just did this new trick. I can do a Superman boomerang, ramp to ramp or something." He always has like this trick he's either working on or did. And I'm like, I don't think he was the first one to do a tail whip air, even if it was, because even the first tail whip airs, Joe wasn't doing them out. He was doing them like right at coping. So
Yeah.
I don't think
I've
Delaval
never heard
had-
that story from Jim or anybody else.
Yeah.
I went on a bunch of trips with Jim. He used to come ride with us, but like right when like raves were coming out, and he was the guy that wore the huge pants, and he would say things like Triz lipping to me, and he's the guy that came up with that phrase doses that made that, like there was a New Jersey Flatland video series of the same name because of Jim Delaval.
Mhm.
And
Oh, is that where it came from?
Didn't he
Yeah.
teach us off the chain or hook or something? He taught us one of those and was trying to explain to us what it meant.
yeah, I'm personally, he drove me fucking crazy.
Yeah. He was fashion forward. He wore girls' jeans because he could get them in cool colors, and I tried to do the same, and didn't work out as well for me. But I had the fluorescent orange jeans and the bright yellow ones. I bought them at the mall in a girls' store, but I was afraid to go to the dressing room and try them on. I'm just like, oh yeah, these will be fine. They'll fit. Like they were sweatpants. Like it'll be fine. They were too small. Didn't work out. That was
So
good.
did Jim wear a pacifier as well
No, I don't
during
know
his
that
rave
one.
days?
Probably not around me, or I would have had to distance myself.
I do remember back then, Delaval went to more AFA contests than like pros, like than sponsored riders. He went to like every contest there was. Even like when they started to like die down a little bit, he was still going to every contest. Like even last week that Venny said, "Oh, Jim Delaval, yeah, he was at the Worlds at something." Like Delaval went to every contest
Yeah,
for
and then
like 7 years.
when BS contest started, like I was like, I'm gonna go to all of these ones, and like somehow Jim Delaval would end up in the car or van with us. Like,
Yeah.
That's it.
and he would always like find a girlfriend in the city and then disappear for the weekend and come back and like, okay. But he would drive overnight because he was probably doing stuff to keep him up. So that always was good.
That he would stay awake. He as far as his riding goes, though, like he was better than average in the beginning, and then he spent a lot of time with the hoods, and like when whatever Dorkin that was 2, 3, 4, whatever, his flatland was incredible. Like it advanced.
He made
so
a
much
jump.
in a short
Yeah,
time.
like crazy.
So much. Yeah, it's good.
He was like a young Ray Schleckweg, as people used to say.
Nobody said that.
This is pretty incredible to have someone putting Ray in check.
Oh, Warren doesn't know anything.
I don't know.
He's
anything.
been drinking all day. He's not even with us.
Yeah, that's it. Now Ray and I started off the day right. You know, besides talking on the phone a couple hours a day every day, we went to breakfast this morning. Had a nice
At
hour and
8
a half
o'clock.
large breakfast with our group. Imagine that, us going out to
A
eat.
lot goes on. Going out, yeah. I sat next to Joe. It was one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life, watching him cut that steak. It's still in my head. I was like, I've never seen anybody focus on cutting flesh like this.
It was a
Surgeons don't
little
cut stuff like that.
little bit of a tough steak, and so I was cutting really thin slices
Yeah,
of it,
well,
like
Wait, was that
sushi
our-
slices.
Farewell dinner.
it was our farewell. Yeah,
What
farewell
was
dinner.
like TJ's or CJ's or something like that. It was a good place.
Yeah,
like,
Mm-hmm.
If you can walk in with like 19 people and they accommodate
just
you with
take you.
your own room and wait staff, like
yeah.
and
The room
and
was closed. The room
Yeah.
was closed, and then when we walked in, see how good I interrupted there, Brian? Was that good?
Yeah.
We walked in and we're like, we have 19 people, and they're like, okay, well, we'll give you rows. And they pulled some old lady out of the back. She's like, all right, motherfuckers, get over there and sit down. I'll be right with you. What do you want? You guys drinking beer? And we're like, this lady's gonna be perfect.
And she was a lot like Ray in that she was working
yeah.
one side of the table and
She
she's
wasn't
like,
that good.
"Oh,
looking.
this is my first day. I don't know." And then like she'd move down a few. She'd be like, "Oh, it's my second day. I don't know. Who knows? You don't know." Like she was working every person there.
Yeah.
And had a different story for every person. A lot like Ray.
Do you guys still live like really close to where you grew up?
I can see
If-
his house. I'm like
Yeah,
looking.
he's right.
If those trees
But
didn't have leaves on them.
Without trying to, Warren and I actually moved closer to each other. Like, we both grew up in King of Prussia. I always lived in King of Prussia, but Warren's lived in like Bermuda, Las Vegas, California, and then always wound up coming back home. And then when we became adults and got married and had kids, I moved across across King of Prussia. And then a couple years later, Warren was moving from nearby, and there just happened to be a house like right down the road. And we're like, man, if you move here, that'll be awesome. Like, so we're very close.
If Ray walked from his house and I walked from my house, it's possible we wouldn't lose our Wi-Fi connections to our houses and still be on the.
If it wasn't raining, I'd do it right now just for something to do. But
That is true. That's true. So, Brian, do you go to the Woodward West reunions ever?
We moved back to Austin about 6 months ago.
Okay.
I was gonna go to that last reunion in March of 2020, and
That's a bad time.
John Povo was like, "We got to send your deposit back," and I was like, "Please keep it." They sent me like a poster of Bob Harrow, and I was like, "What am I gonna do with this stuff?" Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Had you been to any of them?
I've never been to one.
That was going to be the
I've
first
like
one.
come very close to being around for them, and then it just disappears, or like, yeah. So I mean, I went to like a few local things in Orange County, like over the years, that mainly like Xavier Mendez kind of projects, like, but they were more swap meets than riding things. So, but like I would always end up seeing like Blyther would always be around somewhere.
Yeah.
And yeah, mainly
Well,
just,
if Xavier's there, it's going to be Blyther and Dominguez for sure.
yeah.
And whatever they need done, Xavier's there to do it.
Yeah, and so like when X Games used to be in LA, like I'd always get the tap on the shoulder from like, "Hey, your boss wants to know why these old men are in here," and I'm like, "Those are the fucking guys that started
They're the
it."
riders.
And yeah, so I would make sure they got good seats and stuff like that.
Nice.
Warren, do you have the pictures available of how we got into the X Games in Philly?
Yeah, probably. See if, like, I may not be able to talk as much. See if you can carry the conversation while I go look for them.
Well, sure I can. You want me to tell the story as you're getting the pictures?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the X Games were in Philly, and we sort of took them over with our ramp up the John nonsense. And so we were like, wow, we have like 30 people that we need to get into the X Games, and we don't have 30 passes. It's impossible. So we're like, all right, let's find a pass from somebody. So we called Dennis McCoy, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm staying right down the road from your house. So we went and got friends and family pass. And now this is like 11 o'clock at night.
Was
We
Dennis
drove.
staying in like a really, really cheap hotel in King of Prussia and driving to Philly?
Yeah, real cheap. Yeah, he was actually sleeping under a bridge. No, he was that whole Dennis McCoy's cheap thing was just, was like a joke kind of thing. It was like maybe once or twice he may have done something, but he's not like homeless cheap. Like you know what I mean? He's weird, but he's not super cheap. Like
He's
He told me
probably
frugal.
loaded, but he's thrifty with his money.
Like he told me once he moved into a house that had like paint in there, like just extra paint cans that were left over, and he returned them to Home Depot for money.
Yeah,
That's normal. Yeah,
Like
he does every
I
year
don't
for
know.
the Super Bowl. He goes and he buys a TV at Costco, gets like the 80-inch TV, and then watches the Super Bowl and takes it back
yeah.
because you can return. He does that kind of nonsense.
Yeah,
But
he did, like every day, every 90 days, he would return and get the new model or whatever. But he said, when I talked to him recently, he said he's done doing that. The TVs have gotten inexpensive enough that he hasn't done that in a few years.
yeah,
But I don't have them on this computer, Raymond. I would have to go to another computer, so you'll have to find them on your phone or something. Because
I can. I might. Do I have to leave the call, or am I still on? Oh, I'm still on, right?
You're still on.
You're still on. Yeah.
I love that your profile photo is like 15 years old too.
That's probably.
What's my profile? Oh,
It's you
That's it.
outside.
out in front of in Manayunk.
Yeah, Mad River. Was that the Mirror Night?
No, because I was on my bike. I had my bike. We were at Stan. That might have been when we were at Stan's when they had the art show for Dave Fox, maybe.
I thought that was daytime.
Right.
Whatever. That was.
Funny, I
that's the
have like
spot.
younger friends that live in Philly that ride like 10, 15 years younger than me that like get tattooed by Dave Fox now.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they had no idea he invented the Dave Duster. Like the thing that I do like at least an hour a day.
All right.
Warren, I just sent you one of the photos. I just have that one.
All right.
If you can. So anyway, we got a we got a pass from Dennis. We went back to Warren's shop. He had a printing shop with a laminator and color copier and all this. So we just made like 150 badges at like 2 a.m. and Maurice Meyer and Oscar, Warren and I and Gary and whoever else, we just sat there all night and we cut these things out. And the next day we go to the X Games and we're just handing them to all our friends, and like the friends and family thing was like completely packed. And I remember sending that. Maybe that's why Steve Swope doesn't like me, because I showed that to him. No.
Mad.
I also know a person who used to do that, who has a, that's all I should say,
Who has the what?
whose wife still works there.
Mm.
And, he's a Jim Bauer used to do that. And I remember once like Slash was doing the national anthem, and I looked around and there was like 30 BMX dudes standing around Slash, and I'm like, they all have fake passes from Jim Bauer.
Yeah. Well, with those passes, like we'd get the one, and I'd have to scan it at a pretty high res, and then it was matching the color, and then laminating it with the 10 mil lam. It wasn't thick enough, so we put it through multiple times until we got to the thickness, and then we had corner rounders and slots and lanyards, and then different letters at the bottom gave you different access. So we made sure that we had the right number of letters or kinds of letters to give us like the full access. And
You got to get in
not
the food tent.
not once did we get stopped. Nobody ever questioned them. They're perfect.
I told you, Joe, we're from the streets, man. We figure it out.
It was pre-hologram.
Pre-hologram.
Yeah, once they started having all that stuff on them, like,
And if we had to, we could have put our photos on there. You know what I mean? You know, they have the photo badge
yeah.
where we could have put our photos on there.
The best thing those things were ever used for was the food trucks for the production crew.
Yeah.
Like we were there for every meal. We never missed a meal. Yeah, Matt, you showed that to Matt. He got a kick out of it.
Yeah, no, him and Steve, I showed it, and they were laughing. They were
Yeah.
just like, "Oh, that's awesome." They didn't care.
They made it really, really hard to get into in the past previous years, but mainly because like they don't want it on personal people on people's social media before it's on their own social media.
Oh yeah.
So like a lot of the pro skateboarders have their own social media managers. So I would basically have to sneak Chris Cole's social media manager in, like stuff like that all the time, where I'm like, these are the guys that like do the same thing that we do. I'm not gonna say no to them, like, but that happened a lot.
If there was anybody that needed a social media manager, it is Joe Sisman. You need a social media manager so badly.
You think I need somebody to tell me to stop?
No, just to post it for you, because you have like 19 things you post to under 8 different names. So it's like
It is.
You could just,
it is true.
You could sit back and ride Flatland all day while some nitwit is just posting frog bars this and frog bars that and blah 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 and look at this and who's doing that, you know?
Well, I'll tell you what I could use. I really could use someone to help me reignite Scuffington Post, because
Yeah.
I loved that thing. And when the pandemic hit, I was kind of like, it rattled me a little bit. And so that's when it kind of petered out. And then as
So
I
the pandemic,
started
when
to
everyone
normalize
was sitting at home and had all the time in the world, that rattled you where you couldn't do your craft of posting nonsense. That makes
yeah,
no sense.
I lost a little bit of my sense of humor as I was trying to.
What, do you think the world
figure
was
out
going to
what
end? What's a little
I didn't
pandemic going to
know.
do? Oh, you got to calm
well,
down.
now we like I'm conditioned to it.
Yeah,
But then,
I mean, it happened like, 1908 and people died and made it through. You know what I mean? Like,
People kept
shit happens, Joe. You got to just suck it up, dude. Life will throw you a curveball. You just got to hang in there, buddy.
I got to tell you, the one that I'm very happy with now that is only saves. I am still trying to figure out how to get that more integrated into my life, where I can very routinely, make this stuff. There were some very good saves in X Games. Terry, who was it? Matthias had a save. Keo had a couple of great saves in X Games. But yeah, like in Scuffington Post, for whatever reason, I had a life schedule where I was able to dig that stuff up, queue them up, put them out, and I was having a riot. And then, like, when I did the part about Dub doing the funky chicken, dudes were just tagging me, sending their clips left and right, so that was pretty easy.
What's Warren doing right there?
Did you just yawn, Ray? Let me just make sure. Did you?
No, I was trying to catch a fly in my mouth. What's Warren doing?
Ray yawning on this show is so funny.
There's one of the
Is that
is
that a real one, or are those the fake ones?
These are both fake. And they've done some fading over the years, and they have different letters at the bottom for different stuff. But yeah,
What do the letters say?
Yeah, 2001. That was the first year of it.
Yeah.
That photo that you had up was 2002.
Okay. Oh, we did it twice.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, back to back.
Of course we did.
We're good at it. There wasn't any room left in the friends and family section. Like we filled it. Like literally.
Yeah, we filled it. Yeah.
And there, like, at that
We're-
time, there were lines that would last like an hour and a half to get into the X Games. It was such a big deal.
And usually, like, even with competitors back in the day, like, once your competition day was done, like, your access was gone, like, which is crazy to me.
Not ours. We're full
Not
access.
ours. We had full access. They didn't know who they were messing with, man.
This is the BMX mafia.
Yeah.
Look, here's when I was Mike Frazier, pro skateboarder. I think, like you said, Brian, he was done and like flying home. He goes, "Here, just use this." There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I would do that all the time. Like, if like Sunday of the X Games is probably the best day to go because it's easiest to get in.
Here's a Do Tour team manager. I've never managed a team ever.
Yeah.
Here's Gravity Games with my production NBC.
There you go.
Is that the one where Ray got in?
Yeah, it was Alan.
You can't get in by land, you can get in by sea.
Yeah, it may have been that. It's Cleveland for sure.
Joe, you can call this episode Warren's Memory Box.
It is. It is.
In the closet with Warren.
It don't. I'm gonna break out my Miracle Boy Big League Chew Gum.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Cause that was, I think, X Games San Francisco. I think that was part of the Miracle Boy Nyquist video.
Got a grab bag of stuff when we went to see the movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, I kept a lot of that. I could see that a lot of it's breaking down into small pieces in that bag now. But
I just
what
moved.
else, Joe? Oh, go. Hit
I
it,
bring
Brian.
out my credentials, but we just moved and everything is in boxes still.
yeah, it's great. Good memories. I like the credential stuff.
Yeah.
But Kevin Martin has every plane ticket that he's ever been on.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a big stack. Especially when you're touring with bands.
I have none of. I have like no mementos. For years, I used to, and then I think like in 20. Well, I had a bunch of VHS tapes of riding that I just got rid of when I moved from Miami. So like I get really stoked when I see dudes going through like the Big League Chew stuff, because this is like completely not part of my life. I've thrown away all my trophies, that kind of stuff.
You got trophies?
Both of them. One
Both
for
of them.
a watermelon seed spitting contest, I think was one, he said, and the other one
I did have a frog jumping contest,
and it was
trophy.
an 8th place trophy.
8th place, yeah. A frog jumping. One fell out of his pants and they won.
Yeah, I threw out everything too, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Is it sucks or is it freeing? Like,
well, I mean, it was freeing at the time, but there are instances like where I've had to buy the same issue of Freestyling off of eBay for $50.
Oh, right. Right, there is that. Some dude was supposed to send us a box of
remember that?
of Freestyling.
And he never did. That son of a bitch.
That son of a bitch.
Do you know the story, Joe, where I bought Freestyle Magazine's their set that Mike Daly was selling?
No, why would Mike Daly sell it to you? He should give it to you.
Well, here's what happened. Mike Daly, I was buying everything you could on eBay from like
Right.
99 to like 2007. I was just buying every bike I didn't have when I was a kid. I was buying anything, any part that was in a box. I was buying uniforms and bags, just buying shit. And
the guy who refused to wear uniforms now.
Yeah.
buying them.
right. Well, I was going to give it to you for Christmas, but it didn't fit. So Mike Daly calls me and he goes, "Hey, I have Wizard Publications library of magazines from 1977, from the bicycle motocross action to like the last go. I have them all right here in binders. It was like 10 binders,
And not
And
just
you go-
blank binders. Those were binders with like BMX
No.
action logo on them and stuff, weren't they?
yeah. Well, no, they were. I have pictures on Instagram of them. But anyway, so he calls me and he goes, "I'm gonna put these on eBay. I don't want to, but I'm gonna put them on eBay. What should I put them up for?" And I said, "I'll send you a check for $1,000 right now." And he goes, "No, I think I'm just gonna go and put them on eBay." And I'm like, "I'll give you $1,200 for them right now." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna put them on eBay." And he goes, "I just wanted you to I wanted to call you and ask you how much I should put them up for." I was like, "Start them at like 1,000. No, that's going to be too much, I think. I'm like, "No, put them up for 1,000. People will buy them for $1,000. He's like, "No, that's too much." I was like, "All right, well, just put them up." But I'm like, "I'll tell you right now, I'll give you $1,200 for them." So he puts them up on eBay for $499 starting bid. I bid $501. Nobody bid on them, and I won them. And then I was like, "Well, I'm going to send you a check." And he goes, "Can you send me like a money order? I don't trust a check." He didn't trust me to send him a check. I was like, "I'm sending you a check, dude." I'm like, "Come on." I'm like, "I'm going to send you a check."
He didn't
and when
trust
it
that it
clears,
would clear, or that
I don't
he didn't
know.
trust that.
I don't know. So I sent him a check for like $600 to like pay for like the shipping too. And I was like, "Here," and then I got him. So I had him, and then I had him for years. And then he would always call me and be like, "Hey, can you look at the one issue that has this and that and that?" And then eventually I was just sick of looking at him. I was like they used them for Joe Kid on a Stingray. Mark Eaton and John Swar got them and scanned a lot of the photos. But like they were scanning, like they were opening up the magazines, and like the original card from like 1977 bicycle motocross action was floating to the ground, like the original subscription card. Yeah. So I had them, and I wound up selling them to a dude for real cheap. A guy right in the same town here, sort of town over. Some kid named John Hoffman. He bought them. I sold them to him for like $700. I was like, "Yeah, here, you can have them." And he just got them, picked the ones that he wanted, and then probably made his $700 back. Like I could have taken each one and put them up on eBay and spent, made maybe $2,000 or $3,000, but I was just getting rid of shit.
Brian would have bought them.
Yeah, he would have. I just love it.
Sorry.
Good.
Oh, I bought a ton of mine from someplace in Texas. It was a bike shop that had gone out of business because the proprietor died. And he just had like all these old magazines that, like, when they don't sell, you're supposed to send them back to the publisher. And he just had these boxes that he hadn't returned.
No. Oh
crazy.
my gosh.
30 years or so. So like this guy died, and I bought like all of his freestyling magazines, all of his like old Hammer body wear, clothing and pads. And then like the year that Dyno like tried to do like the weird Hammer street style stuff, they made like jackets and shit. Like I have a Dyno jacket.
Was it the black one with the gray prints on the back? I had that one.
It's
Yeah,
like canvas, and like I still wear it sometimes because it fits. And
Nice. Now, Ray, here's a story. I don't know that you've told, or I fast forward through it or whatever, but your relationship with RL and the Hammer Guards and your brother Steve and Pro.
Yeah, he doesn't. I never told that story.
Right.
As Joe drinks from the trash can.
Jesus.
Hold on. Let's wait till he takes. There you go. That's
And-
lighter fluid in there too.
Moonshine, Ohio moonshine.
That's how you do it.
So-
That's how we do
so
it up
this-
here.
The story Warren's talking about was so
Please,
Hammer
the
Guards
short
came out.
version, please. The short version.
Oh, the short version. So RL came out with Hammer Guards, and they're made of neoprene. And my brother worked for a company called Pro Orthopedic Devices. They did nothing but make neoprene sleeves for football, baseball, basketball. And so I sent a pair of Hammer Guards to my brother, and I said, "Here, try and replicate this at your shop." And it was like a huge facility.
Wait a
like
second.
huge-
It's the same shit you guys pulled with the X Games. Ben.
It is.
You've
It
been-
is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
You've been
So-
knocking shit off for
Yeah.
years.
So my brother gets these shit. He gets the knee pads and shin pads, and he goes, "Hey, I made a shin guard that's way better than the thing that you sent me." And I'm like, "Well, send me a couple and let me look at them." So like his place where he worked, it was like a factory. So he sends me a box of Pro Orthopedic shin guards, and they're way better than the hammer things. And they actually got in magazines. Like Joe Johnson has like a full color of him doing like a one-footed X up something wearing these shin pads. But
the BMX action when he's doing like the test for the GT.
maybe, I'm not sure. But the logo on it says Pro, and it's in a diamond. There's like a little diamond and it says Pro. But so RL had a manager, some guy, some like chubby old dude named Mike, I think. And
Hey, nothing
He
wrong
was
with
gonna
chubby
help.
old dudes.
no, chubby old guys know what they're talking about. But so we went to the contest that was in Tucson, Arizona. That's where my brother lived. And I had a box of these things, and they were looking at them, and they were like looking at each other like, "Who's making these? Holy shit!" And I'm like, "Oh, my brother works at this place," and like they could have banged out a ton of them. RL was getting his done made at Body Glove, but my brother
Right down the
he
street
put-
from where he lived.
yeah. So my brother, the ones that he made, they had plastic inside of it and then sewn in, like, so the neoprene was like, it was just like a solid piece of like whatever in there, and they had the zipper. They just like put them on with a zipper, and then then RL started making them with the zipper, and but it was just something that my brother made, and it like never took off. You know what I mean? But
Didn't
RL at
RL
one point was just
take
like-
one from you?
I gave him,
Yeah.
I gave him a bunch, and I said, "Yeah, try and make them." Like my brother's not going to make them. Like my brother made them, but their company wasn't going to get into the BMX thing. But my brother
you
made a bunch
reverse
for Dennis,
engineered the hammer guards, and then the hammer people took your guards and reverse
and
engineered
then made them. Yeah, basically.
There you go.
Yeah, they didn't make knee pads. The pro place just made they made about 12 pair of the shin pads, and I gave them out, I think at Texas and Arizona, and then people were coming up going, "Hey, those things are really good. Can I get another pair?" And I'm like, "No, they don't make them anymore."
Who was the
What?
other action sports guy that Steve worked with?
Oh, he made Tony Hawk hip pads.
Yeah.
Like Tony Hawk was there. My brother's like, "Hey, did you ever hear of a guy named Tony Hawk?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "He's here right now with his manager. We're making some hip pads for him." And that was like before Tony Hawk was Tony Hawk. Like it was like,
I think
It
he was
was like-
always Tony.
well, he
Hawk.
was Tony Hawk, then he was just like a skateboarder, then he was Tony Hawk. Like it was that downtime when he was
What did
there.
the
but I'm like,
how did the hip pads work? Like, what were they?
they were just like a neoprene. They had the place made like a neoprene, almost like girdle, and so they just had these pads on the hips. So you just like put them on like biker shorts with big pads in the hips, and then
Yeah.
you put
Oh, okay.
yeah. So
Those
Right.
guys in like
They-
the big air dudes all still use those kinds of things too.
Yeah, Kevin
Yeah.
Robinson always had that.
yeah, he had them
those
on.
Mhm.
Evan always had a great ass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ads.
that's
who
it.
didn't know that? And Kevin Jones smacked yours.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah,
Oh, hip padding though.
yeah. Maybe he was trying to see if you had any hip pads on. Maybe he wasn't really patting you on the butt to be friendly. He was like, "I wonder if this guy's got some hip pads on. I'll smack his hiney."
All right, Raymond, Brian.
Are you outta here
I'm
already?
heading out. Yep.
Where are you going? What do you got to do today?
What do you got to do today?
like Greg.
It's so
Greg
accusatory when he asked that. He's like, "What the heck do you have to do?"
Yeah, I think
doing?
Greg Brady said it best. Something else.
Something else. Something suddenly came up. Say it
Something
right.
suddenly came
Fucking
up.
quote the Brady
Something-
Bunch, man.
Sorry.
Do him some justice. Greg was smoking.
All right. Good to see everyone.
Good to see
See
you.
you,
Warren.
Lobo. I'll see you
See you,
tomorrow
Warren.
morning.
If not tonight.
If not tonight. Warren has to go play cornhole. He plays cornhole every waking moment. Last night he beat the pants off a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. Killed him in cornhole.
I'm always
He's got
curious.
pictures.
I'm always curious to learn what people do after BMX, like that I grew up looking at, and cornhole is a new one.
Yeah. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do after BMX, but I'm still trying to figure out.
Yeah,
I don't understand the after BMX thing. I don't understand. how
Right. You
anyone
don't
could
understand. It might
Completely give
happen.
that up.
It
give
might
that up.
happen, Joe. It might happen one of these days. You may not have a hot tub and a garage to ride, a barn to ride Flatland. And one of these days you may wake up and not have a Flatland bike. It could happen. Yeah, it could happen. I'm just saying it could happen. It could happen. You could.
Well,
you could win this-
anything could happen, but like
Yeah.
the reason I bought this house was because the Terradome 3, the owner died, and he sold it to some other dude who turned it into a party house, and I had to find a place. And I was like, I am not going to spend months finding another.
Couldn't you just do what we did when we were
old
kids?
factory.
And we lived near the King of Prussia Mall. And we just rode Flatland in a parking garage.
Nope.
Why don't you do that?
Nope.
So
Nope.
this
You won't.
so we just bought this place, and we were renting Sandy Carson's house right before it for like 6 months, and I've never had a place where I could ride in the garage, and I started just like coming out every day and being like, this is awesome. And granted, I can only do like tricks in a very small space, but it's a game changer. Like, granted, and then like I haven't had an argument with someone trying to play pickleball in like a year now, and that's great.
Pickleball.
And that used to happen all the time.
Oh, where'd everybody
Oh,
go?
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
No wind.
No wind.
I mean, like I learned, I conditioned myself to ride in cold because it's not insulated, but I was stoked that I was able to do it. And so now I don't want it to be insulated. I want to use my new capability. But yeah, like I was riding in the flow, and then they shut that down. And there was a year where I was riding in a parking garage, and some dude came in and was like, no, you can't ride here. And I was pissed. I was humiliated. I was like, I'm never doing this again. And that's when I was committed to terradomes, because it's the worst to not have a spot, or to like when I go to contests with Brian Huffman, he's like, come on, let's go look for spots. And I'm like, no. I mean, there's okay, so I don't understand after BMX, but I do understand after riding outside. I have definitely retired from parking lots. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
So you've turned into a big sissy. You've turned into an old man sissy that can only ride.
I am an old
in a
man
certain-
sissy.
Yeah.
You know how
Big
Michael
sissy.
Jackson
I'm
would
gonna-
sleep only in oxygen tanks? Well, that's me and how I ride.
Yeah, I'm going to send you to
Flatland.
the King of Prussia Mall on a cold December evening on a Friday night where you're riding over puddles and ice and the
Oh, that
occasional
video of the
speeding
dude
car.
who, like he shoveled the square out from the snow and he's got his headlights. Yeah, that's a young man's game. Fuck that shit. I work too
Yeah.
hard. No.
Yeah.
Sissy.
I mean, I haven't lived in a cold place in over a decade, so I can't believe I did it as long as I did, but I did. And now, yeah, and I mean, I do want to start riding outside more because I do need a bigger place to ride, but I'm not looking forward to that. And I do get really like, even if I'm trespassing, I don't take it lightly when someone kicks me out. So
I got kicked out of this church this one time, and the guy walks up and he's like, "Hey, do you know how much it costs to blacktop this?" And I was just like, "Oh." And there's like
They were going
oil
to charge you
spots.
for the black. They thought your riding was going to ruin the blacktop.
I was like, you have no idea how much of a dick you are, and how many of you I have met saying the same shit. Like, you're like, oh, I'm gonna tell him that it's when his handlebars fall, that's the thing that's gonna damage him. And I know because I just used other people's tithings to like blacktop. Anyway, I was like, you know what? This is a church. You're a douche. I'm about to rage. I'm just gonna walk away before. Like, I've never fought back at dudes. I've never like given them attitude. But yeah, it's humiliating, especially when you're, and then it's frustrating because like when you're just maybe getting into the groove, you're just finding something, you figure out like you have to learn the parking lot because it's got all its little nuances. And just when you figure that out, some dude who's pissed off because he's not getting laid comes out and kicks you out. It's just like the
I have a
worst.
story. I have a story about what we're talking about, Joe.
I have a story after you.
So years ago, we were in Greenville, and Dave was showing us a office complex that he invested in. So he and some other dude like purchased like a 3-story building that was a office complex, and somebody suggested, "Hey man, let's go get like a mini ramp or something, and get something, and just like bring our cars and a boom box, and let's ride here until the police come." Because you're going to get thrown out, and then as soon as they go to throw us out, just be like, Dave will be like, "Hey, I own the place." So we thought that would be a good thing. It would make us feel good that we're like, here's a place we can't get kicked out of because Dave owns it. But we didn't have enough time to do it. But I always thought that was funny. All right, hit it, Brian.
It's a few years old. I was riding in these tennis courts that had like 15-foot high fences around them. 2 dudes came to play tennis, and instead of just asking me to politely leave, they got in my face and tried to do like the tough guy thing. So I just kind of like went left, and I had my U-lock with me and waited a few minutes. They started playing. I locked the gate. And then I went back like 3 hours later, and all of their stuff was still inside the court, and they had to climb out.
Climb out. That's great. Oh, if you could have set up a video camera after this guy's climbing out.
This was before.
Before like cell phones, probably. Oh, that's the greatest.
But yeah.
And then you can come back and retrieve your lock.
That's
you just
why I
come
went
back and get your.
Did you take their shit?
No, but it still felt like, okay, we're even now.
Yeah. That's a great story.
But yeah, that shit happens all the time. And it's fucking like, I'm 48 now. Like I can't argue with somebody about public space. I just
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's, and I'm so stoked to not have to.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like a lot of my riding the past year has just been shaped by riding in a garage, but I'm okay with that. So
You would do like tons of jugglers, like you would do long stuff.
yeah, I used to
Do you
ride
miss it?
I still, well, yeah, I need to, that's why I said I need to go start doing it again soon. I used to ride at this Liberty State Park on the New Jersey side, like next to the Statue of Liberty, in like the bus parking lots. And it was literally a football field long. And no one ever wanted to go there when I lived in Jersey City. So I would just ride there all the time, and like the wind would blow towards the river. So like I would just kind of catch the wind wave, and that's how I could do like 20 jugglers at a time, no problem. And Yeah, I mean, I still miss that spot because I never got messed with there either. But again, it was so hard to get to that no one came there. But yeah, I need to. I've never found a place like that in Austin to ride at.
It does stuff to your style when you have that much space, and it's
Yeah.
super fun.
And
All
yeah,
right.
I mean, I granted, like, I wouldn't be able to film anything there unless I had somebody
Right.
like trailing with me, but I don't want to ever ask anybody to do that again either.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've asked someone to film a clip.
Yeah, GoPros ruin me for people.
Who needs people?
Yeah, they're the worst.
People just ruin shit.
All right, so how do you guys think we did without Uncle Dave?
I mean, we did good. Look, it's 5 o'clock. We've been here 2 hours. A 2-hour show is good. Where did Dave have to go? Like, what could he possibly have to do?
I don't know. He said that he was in the car while Paula was doing something, and I was like, are you going to check in? Are you going to rate this? Are you going to give us a job performance?
Yeah.
And he just said
He just needed to
said
get
no.
his Rob Lowe quotation scene, and then he pieced right out.
That's exactly what he did.
I can't wait for the Rob Lowe quotes to eventually be done. I may be gone before the Rob Lowe quotes, though. I mean, I can't take these. I can't take it anymore. These Rob Lowe quotes.
So maybe we should
nobody likes
maybe we should discuss how we should reformat the show. I mean,
Make it edgy.
Brian, you are like, how would you coach us on restructuring the show? Like, if we had to reset it and do a reformat right now, how would you advise us? No, Brian. Let's listen to Brian, because Brian's a professional.
Yes,
and he's an insider.
Has he ever even watched the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly, like, this is selfish, but I think more BMX history needs to be out there. So, like, I would just be like,
thank you.
Bring on Long Mustard. Let's talk about inventing the Whiplash, that kind of thing. But I also like that it's loose and funny now. So
when was it not funny?
Oh, I mean, like, well, Eaton would be funny. So yeah, like, maybe not.
Eaton's not known for his comedy, unless I'm talking to him.
He sends me some one-liners that crack me up sometimes.
He is a funny dude.
Yeah.
He can pun. Like, when he and Brett get going on the comments, it's just like, fuck. And it's so fast. It's rapid fire.
Brett's really
incredible.
Good at it.
They're
awesome
so good.
But yeah, I wouldn't say reformat anything. But selfishly, I would love it if there was, like, how did the Whiplash?
More BMX history.
I know how the Whiplash started. I know how he invented the Whiplash, if you want me to tell you, because I know everything.
Sure.
Yeah, let's hear it. Let's fix the show right now.
Yeah. So the thing that gave Mark Eaton the Whiplash was he saw, I believe he was at the Velodrome, and he saw who's the kid that was from Hawaii that rode? No, from Hawaii that rode with
Adam
Fiola. Adam Jung.
Adam Jung. So he was doing a like almost like a steamroller type of thing. Like, he was pedaling and he was doing like a bringing it fault, like it was whipping it and then bringing it back maybe, or something like that. And then Eaton was like, wait a minute. And then he was like, I can probably do that and just keep going around. That's sort of the story, I believe. And then the Whiplash started. But
so Brian, what are the can you give us, like, maybe 5 BMX history open questions that you have that we can do for next next show.
Or I can answer them right now.
Yeah, or let's try to stump Ray. So I'm gonna write down your 5.
I've always been curious, like, did Dominguez ever land the 900 before Matt?
Yes, once by himself with some people. He absolutely did.
Dennis McCoy and Joe Johnson, that weird 6-month huffy Adidas phase.
I know all about it. I really do. I know all about it. You want the short version, or you just want to go on to the next question?
I'll take the short version.
I'll do the short version. So Mickey Connie infiltrated Dennis McCoy, one of the best all-around riders at the New York Madison Square Garden contest. Dennis had a broken ankle. He sat there and talked to Mickey. Mickey may have had good intentions to where she was going to make herself and Dennis a ton of money. So she took Dennis McCoy, who was basically the best rider in the sport, and said, forget these BMX companies that have a little bit of dough and do this. I'm going to get you a corporate sponsorship. I'm going to get Dan and Yogurt, and I'm going to get Adidas and these places that have tons of money. And you might be making, say, 50 to 80,000 a year on Haro. You're going to be making 800,000 a year because Dannon and Adidas and all these people that's who we're going to get. And we're going to do like the Dan Up tour, and they're blah, blah, blah. You can ride whatever bike you want, and we're going to make a ton of money. So Dennis somehow talks Joe into it. And the two of them were going to ride for Mickey Connie, basically. And they were going to do whatever. They were still going to be able to go to contests, compete, dominate, do their thing. They were just going to make a ton more money. And it makes sense, but Mickey couldn't pull it together. And then she ate shit on Gary's ramp, and we still laugh about it when we watch the video. So that's the short version of that, where and we bring it up every time we see Joe and Dennis, and we make fun of them. I'm very mean to them when it comes to that. But that's that version of that.
Trying to think of some other questions now.
Joe, I know everything. And the Dominguez one, we were just talking to him about it a year ago. We were talking about him doing the 900, and so that's how I knew that one. But everyone kind of knew that he always landed one, maybe two, practicing them.
I mean, he kind of told me off the record that he did, but he also said like he kind of had to pivot on his back wheel a whole bunch at the bottom.
Yeah, so
I can appreciate his.
Yeah, Dominguez ain't talking shit in line. So if he said he landed one, pivoted on the back wheel, like that's, but it was a legitimate, if it was at a contest, it would have been a 900. So
yeah. I probably have a bunch of Kevin Jones questions. Like,
I know everything about. I'm a Kevin Jones expert, so
okay,
almost as much as Brett, but Brett would know more.
Yeah,
we both know more than Kevin about Kevin Jones. Brian, did you hear the one when I was talking about the first time I met the Hoods? Did you hear that episode?
Oh God, please tell that.
You can
I was telling that. Funny, I was just telling as it happened, And I was talking to Kevin about it a couple of months ago when we were in Ohio, and Kevin had no recollection of coming to King of Prussia the first time. And they came out like 20 times, but he had no idea.
Okay. Man, now I'm fucking blanking out. I mean, a lot of mine are just kind of like, where are they now type things. Like
I know where everybody is.
Like Mark Gonzalez, the Gons, not the skateboarder, the BMXer.
What? I don't know who that is.
He was more like 90s, 2000s dude, rode for Standard.
Yeah.
And S&M.
I only go to 89.
Okay.
Maybe 90. Maybe 90. That's about it.
Any good Jess Dyrenforth stories?
No, not really. I mean, just that he I know that he became a like a professional rollerblader or something, people were saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know much about him. I remember he was on GT and on tour, but I don't know. I never even really talked to him back in the day.
That was mainly to hook you into. I actually did demos with him when he was a rollerblader in Bangkok, Thailand.
Oh, okay. What year was that?
Probably like 2000, 2001.
Oh, okay. So I was right. See, the rollerblade thing. See,
Yeah. But then
Joe,
he,
you
he
think I
got,
make this shit up?
he got on my Hoffman EP and nose picked an 8-foot quarter pipe, no problem. And I was just like, oh my
Wow,
God.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Any Pete Augustine stories?
Not really. No. I mean, like I've seen him recently and talked to him. I actually was every time I see Pete Augustine, he always calls me Fat Boy. He goes, "Hey, what's up, Fat Boy?" And when we were at the about 3 years ago, we were at a spring fling in Florida, like an old school thing, and my buddy Stan and Stan's a pretty big dude. I'm like, "Hey, look, every time I see Augustine, he always comes up to me and says, 'Hey, what's up, Fat Boy?'" And I go, "You know what?" I go, "If he sees us and he walks up to me and calls me Fat Boy, I go, we're gonna fucking beat him up." He's like, "You want to?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't want to." I go, "But I'm serious. Like, let's pretend. Like, let's rough him up. Like, I'll grab him and just like grab him by the throat. Let's like mess him up, like jokingly, and just try and scare him." So we're like waited like an hour, and he's standing there at this bar, and I'm like, "All right, here he is, man." We walk up, and he makes eye contact with me. He goes, "Hey, what's up, Ray?" I'm like, "Fuck!" And he's like, "What?" I'm like, Stan and I are gonna roll you right here. We're gonna beat the shit out of you if you call me Fat Boy." And he's like, "Oh, come on, Ray. That's just out of respect, man. I don't really mean that. I'm just because I just like to mess with my friends, man." He's like, "Were you guys really gonna beat me up?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Stan's huge. Stan will kick your ass." So it didn't happen. We were gonna beat up.
I know Joe
Pete,
Johnson was just on. Did he ever land the triple whip?
He was trying them at Woodward, wasn't he? Trying them at Woodward. I would think. I would guess yes. Like lands on the frame, maybe. That'd be a good question to ask him if he ever did. It would take him 40 minutes to answer it, though. Johnson can't answer a question if you've ever noticed. Well, you see, I had the bike and I was riding it around and like I was doing it and like I would go up and like the sun was in my eyes, you know what I'm talking about. And then I was whipping it and going around and I was like 1, 2, I was counting, like they were counting for me. I was like 1 and 2 and 3. And I was like, so you're asking if I did a triple, yeah. So when I'm going up, my bike was chrome. I remember my bike was chrome, and I went up and I was like 1, and I was then 2. Did you ever see A Wicked Ride? Did you hear Johnson explaining the goddamn tail whip? It took him 15 minutes to go. Yeah, I went up and I did the first tail whip. I just spun around, landed on the frame, and rode out. He talked for 15 minutes about it and said nothing. I was gonna punch him in the face.
That's his biography.
Oh,
you gotta get screen time for your biography.
Oh.
There was one.
I know all about screen time.
What about your biography, Ray? Sorry, Brian,
there's not enough memory in an iPhone or a computer to fill up my biography. It's so dense and so vast. I mean, can you imagine? And the only person that would watch it would be me, and maybe you. I'd watch it.
Maybe what we'll do is just keep
We'd watch
talking
it together
the whole show.
This is a two-parter. One time I was in Vegas, like leaving Interbike, and Joe was there in the lobby, and I had just written about like the birth of the tail whip for ESPN. And he basically took like 10 minutes to say, "Thanks for writing that." So,
see, you know what I'm talking about.
But here's the question, totally unrelated, but like, why did Gary Pollock just kind of disappear after 1989?
More than a Kevin Jones expert, I'm a Gary Pollock expert.
I know, that's why.
So what happened was Gary graduated high school. and his parents, who were very involved in his riding, which was awesome because he had parents that cared and were pushing him in the right direction. And Gary was, he graduated high school. He was on GT. He maybe toured the summer after he graduated. And then his parents were like, look, you either gotta like go to college or you gotta figure something out or start working, because the whole, like, they wanted Gary, or GT wanted Gary to move to California and do shows. And Gary was like, you know, he probably wasn't going to make a lot of money doing that. And then he wasn't going to further his education being out there, you know, doing shows with Dino DeLuca or something. So he was, he wound up he just stopped riding, just stopped, you know, cold, and worked at a hotel doing the servy bar, you know, like the little bar, the little refrigerators are in your room. Gary got a job. That was his first job, going to like rooms, filling up those little refrigerators. And then I think he went to school. I forget, like he went to college, and then he just wound up working for a cable company, like installing cable. And then from there, he just kept advancing, going higher and higher to like working for companies. And now he, you know, he does stuff with like fiber optics, something. Warren would have been able to tell you what he does. Yeah. But, you know, now Gary's just like a professional jerky that works in the communications something. But so, yeah, that's what basically, it was just like the sport died. So he kind of just stopped riding. He rode mountain bikes for a while. It was funny. We went to like right after like freestyle sort of died, like the contest wise, we went to a mountain bike race, and Gary had like he had a Feli mountain bike where some slip-on vans, and it was this like gnarly mountain bike course. And Gary got on it and ripped around the course once and got first place and didn't even know it. He was just pedaling and wasn't even sweating. And like the guy that came in second had the whole get up on, like the clip-in things and the $1 billion bike, and he's like, that fucking dude beat me. Like Gary basically was like the dude from Rad, like had like the shit bike, no nothing, and Gary just like wiped the dude up. Like Gary could have been like he could have been like a professional athlete. He could have played like baseball or football or basketball or something. Like he played roller hockey, and he was just like messing around playing roller hockey, and some like scout saw him and was like, hey, do you want to be on our roller hockey team? Like a professional roller hockey, because Gary was so good. Like Gary was just an athletic dude, you know?
Was he ever like regretful when it kind of blew up again, and like Dennis and Dave were
a little bit? Yeah. When the X Games started, he did try and make a little bit of a comeback, and I talked him out of it. He wanted to ride vert, and I was like, and like, so even back in the day, Gary was really good, but Gary did something that no vert rider or any rider ever did. Tell me if you can guess what it is. There's something that every vert rider, you know, that's like within like the top 3, they all did one thing. Gary never did it.
Switch to full face?
No, never got hurt. Gary never broke a bone. He got one concussion.
Oh, wow.
He never hurt. He never broke an arm. He never fell. He never broke if you would have put Matt Hoffman's brain in Gary Pollock's talent, you would have a super rider, because Matt had talent, but he also had balls, and Gary had talent and balls, but he was also very cautious. So Gary never, you never saw Gary on crutches. You never saw him miss a contest because of something. The only time Gary missed a contest was when he flicked a penny and got caught, and he couldn't ride the contest. He got in trouble, and when he came home, he told his parents he twisted his ankle. But so Gary was going to make a comeback, and I was like, dude, if you want to make a comeback, you got to move to Woodward. You can't go to Woodward every other weekend and ride for 3 hours. I'm like, you're gonna you're not gonna be able to do it. And so he went and rode. He was riding vert a little bit. He took one big gnarly crash. His front wheel hooked up, and he went front wheel to flat bottom. And I thought it was the end of his life. Like he hit so hard and bounced. And I was like, as soon as he hit, I was like, I can't believe we're gonna have to tell his parents he died. Like, he's done. And he got up and was like, all right, I had enough of that, and just walked away and was like, fine. So
Yeah,
there was no comeback.
for me, like he was like the East Coast Dennis McCoy.
Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, but it always baffled me when people kind of disappeared suddenly. Even though like the sport died, like the people that were real, like Johnson too, kind of did that as well. And
Yeah.
like I get it now because I've talked to Joe as an adult and not a 15-year-old, but at the time, it's just that shit always just like scared, or not scare me, but just baffled me. Like, why would you?
Dennis McCoy hasn't stopped though.
No,
He couldn't be on the show because he was riding. He's like, I can't. I'm riding on Saturdays, man. Fucking weirdo.
I mean, I rode earlier today too.
We all did, didn't we, Joe?
That's right.
I didn't ride today.
I warmed up in the hot tub.
Yeah.
And then I went and did my session.
Did you wear your jeans with the shoe glue on them?
Yes, I did.
Oh, God.
Yes, I did.
It's no jeans.
That's-
Here. It's 94 degrees.
94. I can't wait for the summer. 94 will sound cold here in Pennsylvania. We have 94% humidity when it's 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's kind of the same here.
All right, give us one more thing you want to know about, and then we'll wrap it up here. I'll be Dave Norrie. What's one more thing you've heard about in the freestyle days? We'll say from like 85 to 90 that you heard a rumor, and I'll see if I know what it is. Joe, you can play this game too if you want.
I heard a rumor that Joe Gratola almost did no hand whiplash. That he got it around 75% of the way.
I'm going to see him next week, so I'll ask him for real. I'm going to see him.
Ask him about that.
Oh, you know what? If you do a show next Saturday, we'll have to do it from the road. Warren and I are going to Joe Gratola's and Mike Gratola. And we're going to go. We're getting haircuts, pizza, and possibly doing a Hell Fucking Yeah podcast. Right in the middle of this.
Do they still live on Long Island?
Yes. Yeah. They live right down the street from each other. It's like where in Long Island? I forget where. Something has to do with a lake. Lake something in like the middle of Long Island.
Okay. I probably.
So yeah, I don't know about that whiplash thing.
Whatever happened to the Hernandez brothers?
Oh, Brett and Trevor. Okay. So Brett wound up working for like the movie or TV studios. Like right after, like when he stopped riding, he was working on the set possibly of like maybe Married with Children or something like in that area. I remember he was telling us about Christina Applegate. Like he's like, oh, she's really cool. So Brett, I think, was doing that. And we saw him at one of the old school reunions about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. So that was the last, like when he left riding, that's what he was doing. And then Trevor, they just always like, I don't know if it was Brett that told me or if it was other people that knew Trevor, but he was kind of in the gang world maybe, but I never really knew about that. I mean, I'd never heard that for real, but people were like, oh, he's a gangbanger now. And I was like, man, he's so little and like such a nice kid. So like maybe he got involved in some sketchy stuff, but that was just rumors. Like I never heard it from Brett, I don't think. So yeah, so the Hernandez brothers.
Interesting.
That's what I heard from them. But yeah, Gary hung out with Brett all the time. Gary would be out in California and he rode with Brett all the time.
I once wrote a letter to Brett Hernandez and he sent me back an autographed picture of himself.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Things I don't have anymore, of course, though.
Yeah. Joe, whose autograph did you ever get?
I got So I would get autographs from the guys on tour. I think I had the 2 Haro teams. I wasn't like a super autograph collector,
Yeah.
but I do believe that I had the Haro team on the Haro shirt, and I was super stoked
Yeah.
on that. Like
would've-
super stoked.
This would have been a Dave Norrie question, but like I've always heard there's an unpublished Ron Wilkerson tour book about everything
Yes.
bad they've ever done. Will that ever see the light of day?
We'll
But
never see it.
Oh, about everything bad they've done. I
yeah,
didn't hear that one. Whoa.
That would be a good one.
apparently Losi read it.
Well, I know Ron's been working on a book since 1995. So, they always talk about like when Ron flipped the van and Dave ran around and never fell. You heard that story probably 80 times.
Yeah. He's the George R.R. Martin of BMX.
The what?
The guy that
The-
writes the Game of Thrones novels that takes like years and years to write them.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, my references are veiled. And
Yeah. I'm like talking to a third grader. You got to help me out. I don't know a lot of stuff.
All right. So on
Is that it?
note,
Are we done?
Brian?
Brian Tunney,
thank you,
baby.
man.
no,
It was
thanks for
good talking to you,
Brian.
man. It was great talking to you.
I'm always down to do these in the future.
Yes.
Awesome.
That's what we like to hear.
Awesome.
We'll just send
That's
you the
right.
show every week, and if you can, just pop on. I may not be here next week, or you know what? We might be driving home, so maybe if you do it I might be around next week. It might be while Warren and I are on the road.
Even better.
We may Eddie Vedder. I know Eddie Vedder. I'm just kidding. I did that.
All right.
I was
We're going to
good.
wrap this.
Good. We're wrapping it up. I was going to tell a story, but go ahead.
We're going to wrap it up. All right, Brian. Awesome seeing you. Thank you so
same
much.
here. Thank you very much. I
Yep.
appreciate talking to you guys.
And Raymond, my homie.
Yes. Peace out. Love,
See you
peace,
guys.
and Dago
All right.
Grease. See you, Brian.
Hey,
Take it
guys.
easy.
See you guys.